Day one of the combines. Big Sills, appreciate everybody coming aboard. Please hit the like button. And as I've been telling you the last couple weeks, this is where you build your football team, and you've got to determine whether or not the draft, free agency, or a combination of both are going to be how you retool your football team. I was just talking to Xander here. I mean, the Eagles, he's like, the Eagles have a lot of work to do. They do. But as we've been saying, they're in the driver's seat right now. They're at the pole position, so to speak, when they go into the combines. A couple minutes from now, the combines are going to start. We're going to look at the linebackers and defensive tackles and defensive linemen. We're going to kind of put the edge guys in there. We're going to do all that here in a minute. I want to give you guys a little bit of what the players are going to be going through over the next couple days here. Now, because back in the day, underclassmen couldn't go to the combines, we had pro days. They still have pro days to this day. And I want to give you a little perspective on how these guys all go through this, okay? I thought I was going to be a New England Patriot. I posted it over on my X account. I thought Dick Steinberg came down, and he was one of the 25 people that worked me out and I had an interview with. And this was a year before I ended up going into the draft. So, I mean, my junior pro day or my sophomore pro day, guys were leaving and going into the NFL combines, and they were having their own type of combines. And guys, I mean, it's quite a process. We've had Rich McKay on. By the way, guys, I appreciate you guys so much, but I'm really jacked up. We got a ton of topics here. And I want to give you, again, a little bit of what I went through when you were doing your interviews, your workout. It's funny, I posted Aaron Donald's numbers. They're pretty compatible with mine in what I did at the combines. I didn't realize he ran a 4.68. That's outstanding for a guy 280-some pounds. And remember something, he and I were about the same size, 6'1". Back in the day, 6'1.5", maybe. Okay, so we were kind of the same size. And, you know, I mean, our combine numbers were the same. That's why you've got to look at tape. Okay, and I posted Donald's numbers and my pro day numbers. And so when you go to these, I think the interviews are probably the most important on what teams are going to be looking at and what kind of kid they want. I was telling Xander just a couple minutes ago again, they went all the way back to my high school coach, Joe Anslone, and wanted to get a perspective of what I was like back then. Are you shocked on how far I've come as a player? Does he take the coaching? How young was he when he started taking the coaching, when he showed a passion for the game? They talked to my guidance counselor. They talked to my principal, Sister Judith. They did all of that. They do this is like the months of Big Dom. Big Dom is looking through about 100 potential players that the Eagles might have an interest in. It's going to be about 100 guys, and he's going to have to do background searches on them. What is this kid like? What did he do? Did he ever get in trouble? Did he ever get arrested? What was that thing? Was he just being a kid? And then when you sit down, my interview that I remember the most was with Rich McKay, who's now the president of the Atlanta Falcons, and Jerry Angelo, who was the general manager of the Chicago Bears when they went to the Super Bowl, and he was the assistant GM of the Buccaneers. And I had a interview with them, and they started asking me questions. And they were off-the-wall questions. You know why? They wanted to see my responses, how I would respond to an absurd question. How many people in your family, because you're Italian, are in the mafia? I said, if I had any, I wouldn't be sitting here. And they started laughing. And this is when I gave them my famous line. Hey, Sills, what's plan B if you don't make it in the NFL? You know what I said? Anybody with a plan B doesn't have a plan A. And that's one of the reasons that I ended up getting drafted as high as I did. Remember something, folks. I know you love Nakobe Dean. Big Sills was 40 picks taken ahead of him. I mean, I was taken right around where Jalen Hurts was taken. So, I mean, at the end of the day here, man, those interviews are important along with your game tape. And when you get to the gymnasium workouts, remember something on what you do for the combines. Okay? You're going to do things in the combines you will never be asked to do again in your entire life. You're never going to run a 40 again. You're never going to run shuttle drills. You are never going to be asked to do a vertical jump. You're not going to be asked to do 225. You're not going to be asked to do any of that. So you train for this shit. So sometimes you can get blinded by the workout guy versus the football guy. And that's why you've got guys going in ladder rounds and you're like, how does that guy like Tom Brady? Now look at Trey Lance versus Tom Brady. Trey Lance was traded for 3 first-round picks. And then, if you think about it, he was traded for a 3rd with the Dallas Cowboys. And you want to hear something? In the last 4 years, he's got 5 NFL starts. And he's working on his 3rd team. Tom Brady was taken in the 6th round. And by the way, I always say this about the Patriots. Dude, the Patriots missed on him 5 times also. If they thought so highly of him, they would have taken him in the earlier rounds. It's so hard to evaluate these guys. Guys, do me a favor. Please hit the like button. Super chats go to the top. We appreciate it. So for me, having a conversation with guys like that, talking with Ron Wolf, talking with Al Davis, I had a chance to talk with Gil Brandt. I had a chance to talk with Charlie Casserly. They all interviewed me, and then they took me out, and I went out, and I really did great on my pro day. As I told you, I ran a 4.81. I did 225, 55 times, and I had a 27.5 vertical. And then they put the game tape on where I had over 115 tackles in one season. To put that in perspective, Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter combined didn't have that many tackles in 3 years of their play at Georgia. Now, it's a different era today. Not saying I'm a better player, but I was more productive. It's just different today. You have more rotation that you do in college games today than you did back in my day. Starters didn't come out. Okay? Starters didn't come out back in the day. That was great. Hey, the Wonderlic test, if I'm not mistaken, I think I got a 29 or 30 on it. Something like that. They're just common sense, stupid questions. There's nothing. I've seen guys that not care about the test. Dan Marino, I think, got a 17 on the test. And he didn't really give a shit about the test. So, I mean, I think Vince Young had a real poor score on it. I think Jalen had a really good score on it. Actually, I think you have to have some brains to play the game. You have to be able to retain the information you're getting. And I think you have to understand how you can read a playbook. Reading those NFL playbooks, man, is not that easy. It's like learning a foreign language. When you get an NFL playbook and you're on defense, it's this big. When you get an offensive game plan, it's this big when you get an offensive playbook. The offensive playbooks are twice as big. And these coaches, they go into that. They kind of give you an idea what game plan they're going to use, what plays are in the playbook. But you do want to know if the guy can comprehend things and retain things. It's not as simple as you think. And so I think those one-on-ones, hey, I'll tell you this. I think the one-on-ones are more important than a 40-yard dash. Than how many times you can rep 225. What your vertical is. I want to know who the fuck I'm drafting. Who are you? Do you have the intangibles? I think that's one of the things you miss on with quarterbacks. You don't do enough of that one-on-one conversation. And for the record, you don't get a lot of time with the players. That's why you miss on quarterbacks or you miss on players in the top 15 picks. Is just because you don't get enough time to know who the kid is. Look, man, if I'm going to spend the amount of money, and now the cap came in at $279.2 million, you're spending a boatload of money on these players today. You are spending a boatload of money. And you want to know where that money, you are not making any longer just some sort of gratuitous commitment to a kid. You're making $1 million commitment to a guy where there's going to be mountains of money, especially if you draft a kid in the first round. That's $28 million guaranteed because the CBA was changed about 10 years ago. $28 million you are committed to on paying that kid. You better make sure you're getting the right guy, no matter if he's the first pick or he's the 32nd pick. You've got to make that work, man. I mean, dude, first rounders, my opinion, in this draft, I'm going to make the comment to you. I saw Daniel Jeremiah's comment, and I saw Adam Schefter. By the way, I have no idea what Adam Schefter would know about evaluating a talent. He's an injury guy. So every time I hear Adam Schefter talking about potential on a player, where the fuck does that experience come from? Has he ever been a talent evaluator? Has he ever been a player? Has he ever played the game? How would he know? I saw him posting about the depth of the draft. I'm going to make a comment here to you. I think this is the worst draft in 15 years. I don't see but maybe 13 to 15 players in this draft that are game changers. I just don't. I don't see a bunch of guys in this draft. Like when you had Christian Gonzalez and Witherspoon and players like that, there were good-looking players that were dominant players in college football. I don't see those type of players going into the combines. I mean, Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter, okay. Then you start weeding it down. Where are you going? Where are the best players? Outside of those two players, I think, now this helps the Eagles. Guys, I don't think the difference between the 20th pick and the 32nd pick is going to be that much. It's only going to be in money. I think you can get the same player at 20 that you can get at 32 in this draft. That's one thing that Adam Schefter's right. I think these guys are all bunched together, but I don't think there's one player better than the other after 13. And for the record, it's not going to be the top 13 picks in the upcoming draft in April because the quarterbacks there is not one first-round quarterback this year. You could have as many as 4 go in this draft, which helps Philly. I think you can get, like I said, from 20 to 32, I don't think the difference in the draft is going to be there, and it's going to be that dramatic where you go, man, that player there is a Will Anderson. Like here, Abdul Carter. Abdul Carter's not better than Will Anderson. He's a good-looking player. That's not Will Anderson. That is not Will Anderson. Abdul Carter is not that good. Patrick Surtain or Stingley, who were taken a couple of years ago, the kid out of Michigan is not that good. All right? The quarterbacks. I mean, you heard Brian Baldinger yesterday. If Bo Nix went in the draft this year, he'd be the number 1 player taken. He'd be number 1 taken. Shit. If Bijan Robinson had stayed in college, he'd have been the top pick in the draft. I mean, Jalen Carter too. I think this is the post-COVID guys. I think you had a backlog of great players the last 2 years at certain positions like O-line and edge. Wide receiver was a stockpile too. I don't see that. The kid from Arizona might be the best wide receiver. Like, do you see a Thomas like the kid from Jacksonville or Malik Neighbors or Jamar Chase in this draft outside of the kid from Arizona? I don't. I mean, who is the number 1 player taken? Quinyon Mitchell. Quinyon Mitchell might be the 3rd player taken in this draft. You know where Cooper DeJean would go? He'd go in the top 5. I mean, I'm trying to be positive about the draft. Look, I think you can get a player and a starter in this thing. I'm not saying there's not starters in this draft, but exceptional players like a Khalil Mack, a Von Miller, a Myles Garrett, I don't see it outside of Travis Hunter. And maybe Abdul. I think Abdul Carter's undersized. I mean, there's just a bunch of people that are wedged in. Like here, from pick 20 to pick 50, I don't believe you could see an enormous change. I'll just go down to 32 where the Eagles pick in the first round. Shit, I could take it out to 45, 50. I don't think it's going to be that dramatic of a difference in drop-off. That's why I say this draft, you know what I would do? I would draft on need. If I saw a player that was the highest-ranked player at 32 and I had a need for it, linebacker, you don't know on February 27th prior to free agency. That's 13 days away. You don't have any idea where that is. So what I would do is sitting here again on February 27th, am I going to need a linebacker? If that's the case, I'm moving out of 32. If I traditionally don't draft linebackers and I need one, I'm dropping out of the top 32 and I'm going into the beginning of the second round to try to land my linebacker. The linebacking core also in the draft is terrible outside of the kid from Bama. You know, I started looking at it and I started talking to some personnel people, Lonzo Highsmith. I tell you, I deal with Dan Morgan, the general manager of Carolina. Outside of the kid from UCLA and the kid from Bama, this is a horrible linebacker draft. And if you look at where that kid is probably going to go, he's probably going to go 15 somewhere in there. But what did I tell you? Between 20 and 32, it's the same dude. Okay? I don't think there's really running backs. We'll take a look at those guys, but today it's D-line and linebackers. We're going to look at that here. So, again, you got to determine draft, free agency. How are you going to retool? Now, listen, I wrote these questions down, and this is prior to the draft here. I got 10 questions, and this goes with position, free agency. These are my questions that I have going into the combines and into this offseason. Hit the like button. Guys, do me a favor. Give me a total on the likes. I appreciate you guys. All supers go to the top. You guys have been absolutely great. All right. Here's my questions, and then we'll get into some of the coaching staff questions. The Eagles do have a lot of work. This is why they say, hey, being the hunted now, it's tougher to stay on top than get to the top, in my opinion. Because the NFL makes the game unfair. They don't want you picking great players. They don't want you to have really great rosters for a length of time. That's why balancing your cap and having cap integrity and roster integrity is one of the most important things that a team can have. And that's why you have a general manager that understands that. There's been so many general managers that don't get that and still don't get it. It's an organizational, institutional failure. Many of these NFL teams are run like the federal government. Waste. You got waste in so many areas and so many opinions. Do you know the least opinion that I want on draft day is? I don't want to hear from Jeffrey Lurie, or I don't want to hear from anybody that's in upper management on a player that somebody's been scouting for 8 months. You may like a kid, but at the end of the day, what's your knowledge of the kid? Just because you like him? So here's some of them. As I look at your roster, this is my overall view. You tell me if you think I'm wrong on this. By the way, Gary Cobb will be with us at 4:30. We will also have our friend Xander Krauss at 3:30. So we'll get his thoughts from Birds 365 as well. I'm going to look because Howie is talking about depth on your team. How many people agree with me? I wouldn't be shocked if the Philadelphia Eagles drafted a backup center somewhere in this draft. Don't you think you need depth there? I don't want to be moving over Landon Dickerson over to center if Cam Jurgens gets hurt. And the kid they drafted a year ago is not good enough. So to me, I'm not looking to do that. I would like a little depth there at that position. Not in the top 3 rounds, somewhere in the middle rounds, but I want to address the backup. I want to find a guy. You know who I would use? Jason Kelce. Hey, you found Cam Jurgens? I would ask Jason Kelce. And by the way, what round, guys, was Jason Kelce drafted in? Help me out here. I'm talking like 4 or 5. Picking a center, looking at a center to have a backup and a little more meat there at that position. I don't want to move the third best left guard over, and I don't want to move him over to center. That makes me weaker because then I got to put Steen in, who I don't really think has been that good. A third rounder so far. Not saying he can't improve. You got Jeff Stoutland. And by the way, it's difficult to win a starting position when you've got such a great O-line. Okay? So Jason Kelce's a 6th rounder. Okay, 4, 5, and 6. I'd like to see them get a little bit deeper at the center position. Right guard. Are you sure if Becton is back and you've got Trevor Keegan and Steen, you're deep there? It's all going to determine what happens in free agency. I believe there's a 90% chance that Becton returns. I mean, he was Brian Baldinger said it perfectly. He's not the most mature guy. And there's not a lot of places around the NFL that will tolerate that immaturity. Do you know what that means? That Becton wants to be coached by the best because he's attracted to the way Jeff Stoutland coaches him. That's great. I don't think he goes anywhere. I think he takes a haircut on where he could have went out in the open market and he could have got more money. The only issue I have is, do you think you're going to get another full year out of him when he has had history of injuries? I need to start preparing Trevor Keegan, getting him more reps, getting him more playing time. Do I think I'm good at right guard? As long as Becton resigns and he's healthy, yes. Because you have Steen. Jack Driscoll, I don't know what's going to happen in free agency. He's kind of a Swiss Army knife, as I've dubbed him. He can play all the positions except for center, I think. So I'm pretty good there at right guard. Okay? I'm pretty good there. Philly Don, edge, DT, tight end, center, O-line, running back, in that order. Philly. Let's put that in order here in a minute. I'm going to go through my concerns and my questions as you get ready for the combines today and free agency in 13 days, okay? Hit the like button, guys. Running back. I'm moving off of Gainwell. I got Shipley under contract. I'm not spending $2 million on Kenny Gainwell. I know they love him. I want something different. I mean, and I don't want to spend money in free agency. Okay? So I'll go into the draft. Again, 4, 5, and 6. Find somebody in there. The kid from Arizona State might be there. I don't know if his game will translate to the NFL. He looks like a college back to me. You know what that is? Like a Donnell Pumphrey. He looks like a college guy. I don't see pro qualities like a Bijan Robinson or somebody like the kid Gibbs. Dude, I didn't think Gibbs would be that good. I thought he was a first rounder, but I didn't think he was that good. Like, do those Does any of the running backs, even a kid from Boise, he doesn't even look like that. They look like really good college guys. Like, again, like that Pumphrey kid who was the all-time leading rusher in college football history. I don't know. I look at the Boise State guy. I saw him against tougher competition. He stunk. I don't see it. I mean, but I'd like to get somebody back there. I don't know what that looks like. I heard Xander and John talking about Chubb. You know why Chubb would play in Philly? Dude, he's coming off a knee injury like you guys said, right? He's going to be cheap. You know what his street valuation is? It's $3 million. Can you imagine if you get that guy and you give him reps, he would go for that. You know why? The year after your injury, you're never the same anyway. So he would get limited reps. You can't give that guy 300 carries coming off of a knee injury. That guy right now in his career is about a 140 carry guy. But if that guy gave you 4 or 5 a carry and you're paying him $3 million and you got a former first rounder in Chubb, that's a fucking gold mine. And figure this out here. If that guy sucks, he doesn't crush you on your cap. He doesn't have a huge market. And I heard John say he wouldn't come here. Nobody on the planet is going to make that guy a feature back coming off of a catastrophic knee injury. Who in their right mind is going to pay that guy? Dude, Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley and Aaron Jones and Josh Jacobs were not coming off of injuries. They were coming off of playing on bad teams. It's much different when you're looking at Chubb who's coming off of an injury. You can't give that guy. There's not a general manager with any brains that would go, let me give that guy $8 million and I'm going to give him 300 carries. Who in their right mind would do that? Where have you ever seen that? And if you think he's Adrian Peterson, I don't. But I think he's a good ball player. My objective would not be the numbers of, say, 800, 900 yards with Chubb. My number would be this with Barkley and Chubb in the backfield. You know what that would be? Is he getting me 4 or 5 yards a carry? Every single running back. Will somebody do something for me here? Kyle, if you're in here, help me out. The last 3 years, I'd like to know what Miles Sanders, I'd like to know what DeAndre Swift, and I'd like to know what Saquon Barkley's yards per carry were. And if I'm somewhere in the 5 range, I think Chubb could do the same. And that's all you would need. Shit, look at Gainwell's yards per carry. I want a true 3-4 edge who can be serviceable in zone coverage. As good as we were last year, Josh Sweat is not a Fangio edge. It's pretty true. That's pretty true. Think about it. Every running back that you've had the last 3 years, I think they're got to be hovering around 5 yards a carry. It's that old line. I want to get a little depth there. And Gainwell's not the depth I'm looking at. You got 2 dudes that are copycat players at that position of running back. You know who they are? Shipley and Gainwell. Supers go to the top. I mean, guys, please hit the like button. Give me a total on the likes. I appreciate you guys already, man. I love this time of the year. Think about it. Chubb is cheap. No NFL general manager is giving that guy $8 million or $11 million. Thank you, Kyle. So let me show you here. 71, guys, let's get that number up, please. Look at this, guys. Miles Sanders had 4.9 a carry. DeAndre Swift had 5.5 yards a carry. Hey, Kyle, what did Barkley have? That's what I'm looking for right there. That's what I'm looking for. I'm not looking to take yards away from Barkley. I'm looking to take carries away from Barkley. That to me, and he's cheap. There's nobody in the draft at the running back position that's worth a shit. And for me to spend equity draft picks at first 3 rounds, I'm not doing any of that. Okay? Look at those yards per carry. Kyle, if I'm not mistaken, Barkley was okay. Kyle goes 5'8", 1. Look at this. So Sanders was 4'9", Swift was 5.5, and Barkley was 5.8. Bro, just get me a great back there like a Chubb, who I'm going to give 130 carries to situationally. The Eagles will be better at that running back position because your guy will be healthier, less carries, and he'll be more ready for the postseason. And you may get an extra year out of him. And remember something. This guy went into February carrying footballs. You want to take a little bit of that. Hey, I agree with these guys. You're going to run that pony until that pony can't run anymore. Okay, let's run him the right way. When does free agency start? March 12th. That's when free agency starts. We need a blunt back. Okay, you can turn Chubb into a red zone back. You know the problem I think the Cowboys had last year? You could have made Ezekiel Elliott your red zone guy and only played him in the red zone like they did with LeGarrette Blount in Tampa and what they did with him in Philly and Pittsburgh. In Pittsburgh, that was a nightmare. Or New England. You could have just made him a red zone guy. Nope. Cowboys wanted to have him carry the ball from 20 to 20. Colossal mistake. That's not what they needed. They needed a guy who could carry the mail 20 to 20 and then a red zone guy. That's what you need. I would like to get a guy to help out Barkley, not taking anything away from him except carries. It's all I'm looking for. Guys, do me a favor. Please hit the like button. All right. Let's do this at the tight end position. Would you be willing to find another starter at tight end in this draft? Free agency, there's nobody I care about. Would you be looking to start to replace, of all the players on offense, who's the number one guy you want to replace right now? Me, it's the tight end. I want to replace the tight end. I'm not looking to replace any of the O-linemen. I'm not looking to replace any of the wide receivers. I'm not looking to replace the quarterback, and I'm not looking to replace the running back. I'm looking at replacing the tight end. Why? Because he has been the most injured player in that huddle since 2021. Since 2021, he has been the most injured player out of all the players that have started for the Eagles. He's a concern for me. And the depth. And the depth. Bring in Harris, Chubb, or Williams. Who's ever healthier, whoever can pass the physical. Tight end. I mean, I wouldn't have a problem with them drafting. I would have a problem with them spending on any of these free agents. Would you bring Zach Ertz back? Probably not. I want a guy in there for the next 3 years. Plus, with the way they run the ball, I need a blocking tight end. Let me ask you this. Do the Eagles have a blocking tight end outside of Dallas Goedert? Hey, Kyle, I hate to do this to you, Kyle. Kyle, how many carries did the Eagles have last year? Okay. And then figure out how many targets the tight ends got last year. And then you figure out what style of play you need at that tight end position or what kind of room you need at that position. You need a guy with great hands and you need a guy who can block. And I don't think they're really great at either at that position. And with a football team that's going to run the shit out of the football again next year, you got to have a dominant running guy in there. Mason Taylor in the second and third is an A-plus pick for Howie, all-around prospect. He's a good-looking player. He is. I'd be open to something like that. Look at how many you must have had this year over 500 carries. Between Hurts and Barkley, you might have even been approaching 600 carries. Kyle's got 345 carries, not counting the postseason. That's not counting the postseason. You can add another 60 to that. That's 400 carries. Hurts had another what, 140? That's 540. You're talking 600 carries. So to me, I want a blocking guy in there. It's mandatory that I would rather get a guy in there that I could line up on an edge rusher and blow that guy off the ball. Why? Because I'm going to run. Remember, you have got a draft to fit the personnel of your team and your direction of your team and the style of football. Some of you guys are looking at these draft picks now, and you know what you're saying? Man, I really like that. Does he fit? Does he fit the system? Here, a pass-catching tight end like Travis Kelce or a Jason Witten doesn't fit in Philly. Jamar Chase doesn't fit in Philly as WR1 because the way you run the ball. Now, if you're going to start changing mentality because of Kevin Patullo, that's where you're going to get pushback from me. Okay? You've got to draft to how you play the game. The board is irrelevant. The name on the back of the jersey is irrelevant. The greatest drafter in NFL history is Jimmy Johnson as a head coach, in my opinion. He didn't give a shit what the name on the back of the jersey said. Does this guy profile how we play ball? Does he fit your identity? Here's the identity of the Eagle offense and the Eagle defense. Eagle offense, they want to win first and second down. You don't win first and second down spreading the football out and throwing it. You win it by running at the point of attack. I want to have a power tight end, and I want to have a phenomenal O-line and a great back and a versatile quarterback that can maybe run if you start shutting that run game down, and he gives you the add one. That's why the Eagles are so good at that. Eagles are a better running attack than Baltimore is. I don't really think Lamar wants to run. I think Jalen knows it's essential on moving the sticks. That's what makes him smarter than Lamar. Lamar, when you watched him play last year against the Eagles, Lamar wants to make throws from the pocket. Jalen wants to move the sticks. I think there's two different dudes there and two different mentalities. Jalen will take a 7-yard pass where Lamar wants to make the 14-yard completion. I think there lies the difference in approach. I think if you're talking about skill set, Lamar's off the charts great. If you're talking approach of the game, there's no question Jalen Hurts, in my opinion, is a better player than Lamar Jackson at that concept. Okay? At that concept. So, to me, again, you've got to build your football team around how you approach. Okay, so tight end, I think, has to be addressed. Edge. Here's what you're going to get with edge now, and then we're going to rank them. Okay, do me a favor, guys. Please hit the like button here. If you lose Sweat, you've lost BG probably. I know we haven't heard anything when it comes to Brandon Graham's retirement, and also, this is what you're counting on. Follow me here at the edge. You're losing Sweat, who could make the argument he was the best player on the field in the Super Bowl, right? You're losing Brandon Graham. You're counting on Jalix Hunt. And I heard Xander, you're praying that Bryce Huff has a comeback season? That's what you're hoping for? That's not a strategy. That's wishful thinking. Howie doesn't build his team with wishful thinking. I'm not saying Xander's wrong or any. I'm saying you need a plan. What's your plan there? You going to go free agency? You're going to trade for Miles. Where are you? What are you doing there? I think these combines today, especially looking at the edge guys, the D tackles, and the linebackers, those are all question marks going into the offseason for the Eagles, right? Thoughts on Ben and Snyder, tight end from Tennessee. I love anybody from the Southeastern Conference. Tennessee has a good program. The former UCF head coach in there that runs that program has done a great job of recruiting, bringing guys in. They got a recruiting coordinator who I absolutely love. There's a lot of talent on that Tennessee football team. and they got a lot of skilled athletes on that Tennessee team. Hands are suspect at times. I've seen them play. Remember something, guys. Here's what you're going to get with Big Sills when we're talking college. I'm just not making this shit up. I vote on every Hall of Fame and every college All-American team, and I hand out all the awards. I vote on the Heisman. So when you got these pro guys that are pretending that they're all of a sudden been watching these college guys all year, that's not true. Xander watches college football because he went to a college football powerhouse in Bama. Okay? And he knows talking out Alabama football and college football in Philly's a non-starter. Me and him could do 5 hours of football in college football. I believe that with him. So when you hear him talking and he says, I like this kid, I believe him. When I hear other people talking like that, I'm like, the fuck would you know? You just came home from New Orleans. It's not a chance in hell you've been watching this guy. I mean, so I vote on these teams. I showed you my ballots. Okay, so, and I get all of these schools contacting me wanting my all-American vote. So I got kind of a good sense of where these kids are. I like this guy, Mike Green from Marshall. I think he's probably the second best edge talent. I don't like the competition. Remember what I said about Toledo last year? That might be different now because Marshall plays Notre Dame. He was a fucking force in that Notre Dame game. Did Notre Dame beat them? Notre Dame, that's right. Notre Dame lost to Northern Illinois this past season. That's who they ended up losing to. All right. So here's what you get with Josh Sweat and Brandon Graham gone. You have no depth as of right now. You're not re-signing Sweat. Graham's retiring. So you go right now on your roster, February 27th. You've got to go with the assumption. Here's your edge, guys. Nolan Smith. Okay? Nolan Smith. We're going over questions right now heading into the combines, Anthony. And here my questions are. Backup center, I'd like to see the Eagles get somewhere in there. Right guard is going to be, in my opinion, I think you're pretty good there as long as Becton resigns. Tight end, I think they have to address the starter. When do you start with the you guys did this before, didn't you? Hey, what round did you take Dallas Goedert when Zach Ertz was on the team? What round did you take Goddard? Howie was preparing back in the day, wasn't he? For Dallas Goedert to take over for Zach Ertz? Okay. So Dallas Goedert was drafted in the second round. I think you got to start thinking about replacing Dallas Goedert that same way. How many years did Dallas Goedert back up Zach Ertz? 2? 3? I wouldn't have a problem with that. I'm not saying first round. That kid from Penn State's not going to be down there. Okay? He's not going to be down there. Okay. Again, back to the edge here. Dude. So here's what you got right now. Nolan Smith, Jalix Hunt, Bryce Huff. Those are your edge rushers. That ain't good enough. That's not good enough. You were already limited there. You got good play from Smith and Sweat going into the playoffs. Okay? By the way, how many people believe that Nolan Smith is going to be okay with 900 snaps next year? Are you sure about that? He theoretically played half a season. Are you sure he's going to be okay with picking up the reps and the snaps of a 900 snap edge rusher? You think he's going to be okay and his body's going to hold up? Get this. And Reyes says he'll be good. Well, fuck, he wasn't good this year. He's on the injury reserve right now, or he's on a surgery list right now. And the end of the season, again, having to need surgery. How's he going to be okay when he played half the fucking season? He couldn't even get through the regular season without having off-season surgery. And he's not going to be ready for training camp until training camp. By the way, I disagree with John on that injury to Kobe Dean. That's not the way he was talking. Now, I will agree with John on one thing. He's young, and that expedites it. So I will go there with you. Okay? So right now, you have Nolan Smith. You got to prepare. You got Nolan Smith, Jalix Hunt, and Bryce Huff. That's the weakest part of your defense right now, is your edge. You have little depth, and you have very little star power. And you're talking about a dude that's coming off an injury, getting ready for training camp. He won't be able to lift. He'll have to hit the ground running. We'll see. Let's just assume he's going to come back 1,000%. Okay? I'll give you that. He's young. If he was in his 30s, it's a different conversation. But because he's young, he's in his early 20s, sure, I'm good with that. But you're limited at edge. Unless you're making a trade, I've got to go into the draft and find an edge rusher, maybe a couple. Because right now, like I said, Nolan Smith, Jalix Hunt, and Bryce Huff are your options. How do you feel about that? Okay? Again, not things Howie can't fix. These are questions. Trade this year's first and third. You get Dom, the Jets, and get Abdul. I think Abdul Carter's a little undersized. Do I look at him and I see Will Anderson that I would move up to the first? I'm not doing that. The Eagles are the champions. They don't need the first pick in the draft. The Eagles could get away, like I said, with Jack Sawyer down there. And I think Sawyer, in my opinion, hey, I know Abdul Carter's probably the best guy in the draft, the best athlete, the best edge guy. Let's see how he plays. Already we're talking about him needing surgery on his foot. Not a big deal. By the way, as long as it's not a knee, an elbow, shoulder, and it's just a foot where he's got like a microfracture, that's not a big deal. Unless it becomes malignant and it becomes something that is a year-in thing where you're starting to see a lot like the basketball players get, then it becomes a problem. Mike Williams had that coming out of Clemson. That edge concerns me now. Now, again, here's the advantages. You've got Vic. You've got Howie willing. See, this is what you got. And you've got the owner, money. The owner's cool with money. Howie's cool with whatever. And Vic can find these guys. Again, I'm not saying you can't repair this, but you're limited there. What about drafting a rookie and bringing in Mack or even Reddick as a bridge? Hell, Reddick is fresh. He only played like 6 games. The problem is the money. You know what Khalil Mack's market value is? It's $20 million, even as old as he is. You know what Reddick's is? Reddick's a headache and still has a $12 million street value. I'm not doing that. I'm the champs. I'm going to act like the fucking champs. Anthony, the money's, well, still, Howie's got a lot extra money because we just saw that the salary cap now is at $479 too. Howie's not going to piss money away. That's why the guy's great at what he does. Guys, hit the like button. 95. Let's get it over 100 before the top of the hour. Appreciate you guys. Thank you. Defensive tackle. Okay. A defensive tackle, most likely losing Milton Williams. So your tackles are right now, if you're counting the nose, Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, Booker, Ojamo, right? Those are your guys. How do you feel about that? Not awful. Not awful. Personally, me, I think Jalen Carter needs more help. You're going to get that guy killed in there. with all those double teams. Look, it's very rarely do you have two great DTs. I think for a great defense, it's not the linebackers, it's not the corners. Are you fucking crazy? You have to have great defensive tackle play if you're going to be a great defense. You know why? If you've got great guys on the corners and on the numbers, and you can't stop the run, it's useless. Look at Michael Parsons. He's the most useless superstar in the NFL. Why? Because he plays the edge. How can you be considered one of the top defensive players in the NFL and your team is 32nd versus the run? How are you considered a top-notch defensive player if you're on the worst football team against the run? That's impossible. You know why the Eagles were great this year on defense? It's not your linebacker play. It's not your corner play. It wasn't your edge play for sure. It was the two tackles in the middle. Linebackers benefited. Corners benefited. Shit, they benefited more this year than in 22 when you had 70 sacks. Why? Because your two D tackles were in the top 7 in stopping the run. You were 16th in 22. You were in the middle of the pack. This team is in the top 10 in every category. Pass defense, all of this sparked off a great D tackle play. Fuck Booker and Ojamo. Those guys were impact players. Guys, great defenses start inside. Zack Bon benefited from Carter and Davis and Milton Williams being in there. Milton Williams is going to make $20 million this year. Carter, when his deal's up, might make 30. Davis, who's the lesser of the three, could potentially get his option picked up and make 12. Those are star players. Every single defense that Philadelphia has ever had has been great. It started in your tackle positions. DT. Without the defensive tackle play, Oren Burks, Nakobe Dean, and Zack Bon are nobodies. You've got to have great tackle play. The Eagles were great at D tackle play. Carter's the star of that defense, not Bon. He impacts the corners. He impacts the linebackers. He impacts the edge. You take Jalen Carter off that team, you're not going anywhere. You take Zack Bon off that team, we'll talk about that. Carter's the key. Keeping him healthy. Getting him help. I don't think Jordan Davis gives him enough help on third down or in nickel. And I think you got to improve that. Dude, the more and more I watch the games of Zack Bon, Zack Bon should get, if he makes $18 million and the Eagles give him that money, he should stroke a check for $7 million to Jalen Carter and thank him for what he did for him. As great as Vic's system is, that dude in front of him is a war hog. Eats space up, throws dudes around, pressures quarterbacks. Made the play of the game in the Rams game. I mean, watch the tape. Go back. Look at some of the deficiencies. Carter's the key to this thing. It ain't Bon. I think you get another guy in there. May not be Bon, but I think you get another guy. Carter can't be replaced. Bon can be. You guys are looking at this wrong. You put Zack Bon in Carolina. You put Zack Bon in New York with the Jets. He's a nobody. You put Jalen Carter anywhere, change your franchise. You tell me who's more important to your defense. Zack Bon's a luxury, but he's not $17 million. Don't need him. Howie knows that. Remember what he said at the Combines a couple days ago? Love the trenches. Carter's the dude. Get him help. Those guys, dude, go back and watch Oren Burks play. I didn't see the drop-off from Oren Burks and Nakobe. I think Nakobe's a better athlete, sure. He's faster. But Burks played great because of the two dudes in front of him. Milton Williams was outstanding. And to Xander's point, Javon Hargrave got $20 million. And I never liked his ability to play the run. I thought he was a one-dimensional guy. I thought he was kind of okay. I thought he ran around too many blocks. Milton's a better player. Milton's a better player than Javon Hargrave. Hargrave got $20 million. This guy signed a $60 million plus deal with the 49ers. Then they realized he couldn't play the run, and they cut him. Got to have great D-tackle play. I think the 49ers fucked up by letting Eric Armstead go. Guy goes to Jacksonville. He's a good football player. Should never let him go. It all starts with the tackles on defense. Look at the history of the Eagles. If you don't have good D-tackle play, you're not a good defense. Look at what happened to those guys last year. You know what you did? You relied on young players, Carter and Davis. They weren't NFL ready. They just weren't NFL ready. They weren't in shape. And Vic knew they were running. What were they saying? Nakobe was saying Vic was running conditioning drills during training camp where no one else was. That was the key difference in February and in January on why the Philadelphia Eagles were the best defense, not only in the regular season, but in the postseason. Go back and watch the fucking tape. It's all over. Their conditioning. Vic was running special conditioning drills for all of his players. The Eagles were in the best shape, and they played the best defense. Why? Dude, I'll take conditioning over ability any day. Any day that being in shape, you can end up playing better than someone that's in front of you or next to you. Because again, I don't care how talented you are. If you're in the fourth quarter and you're putting your fucking hand up, you're useless. Carter's the key. It's not Bon. You want Bon. He's the flashier name. Carter's the guy. Dude, Sills, are you trying to say that Bon didn't have a great... No. No. I think that you can get another guy back there. Would he be the same guy? I don't know. I'll leave that up to Vic. Carter, the D tackles. Protect him. Get him help. Carter. He can't sustain those double teams like that. God forbid that guy gets hurt. Your defense is fucking toast. Because your edge rushers are limited. Your linebackers will be small. And your corners will have people throwing underneath or over the top because you can't get pressure. Carter's the key. I just said this to the University of Miami. I tweeted this out. You know why University of Miami's defenses have not been good in 25 years? I can't remember the last time we had a defensive tackle drafted in the top 3 rounds. We got guys at every other position being drafted except for DT. We used to have the preeminent place for tight ends, defensive tackles, quarterbacks at Miami, and receivers, safeties, everything. But the D-tackle position, fuck, man. We had 2 Hall of Fame guys during my time. Really, if you want to look at it, we had 3 with Jerome. We had Jerome Brown, Russell Maryland, Cortez Kennedy, and Warren Sapp. These were in a 6-year span. Those were our tackles in a 6-year span. I fucking recruited all of them. Except Jerome and me, obviously. Got to have great D tackle plays. You have to. It's imperative. Carter's the key. Linebacker. Let's get to it. Here's what you got at linebacker now. It's kind of a funny situation. I think this is another concern here. By the way, I'm not telling you how we can't fix this. I'm talking about questions I have. So, who's the most important person at linebacker to sign, you think? Oren Burks or Zack Bon? Who's the most important person you want back? Who would be the most important person? I know where all of you are going to land. Who is the most important linebacker between the two? Pat says Bon. Bon, of course. Okay? Both. I asked you for one or the other. No fence straddling here. Trotter, sorry, not ready. I don't think he's good enough. Now, all of you are saying Bon. Let me tell you why I want to sign Oren Burks first. He's a safety belt. I want to sign him first. I don't know what that number is going to look like. I thought I saw somewhere 4 million, 5 million. Okay? Here's what he does for me. Dean's injury throws a monkey wrench in this thing big time. Because I don't know what he's going to look like coming back or in November. I have no idea. Bon, it's a crapshoot if he signs free agency. Get this. If Bon does sign with the Eagles, you got your linebackers that were in the Super Bowl that dominated the Chiefs. If you don't, you at least got one surefire guy at a minimum price, and he's a safety belt that you sign for a 2-year contract. He is the guy that's kind of the bridge dude. Is Bon going free agency or not? Is Nakobe Dean going to recover from his injuries? Oren Burks covers all that. He gives you time on Dean's injury, and he covers you on Bon if Bon gets drafted. I'm not saying Oren Burks is a better player. I'm telling you, he protects your flanks. If he goes free agency and someone offers him stupid money, and if Dean doesn't come back in a timely fashion, Nakobe Dean is a problem for me as a player. He's never been healthy. He has never finished the season healthy. Giving him a contract extension, no thank you. This makes perfect sense. The DT has the most direct path to the quarterback, and the DT flushes the quarterback out of the pocket and gets him off his mark. The other guy's feet off of. Mikey, think about this. Brady, internal pressure. Hurts, internal pressure. It's not the edge. Jalen gets away from the edge. It's the internal pressure that gives him more problems. Every quarterback. Mahomes. Mahomes was frustrated in the Super Bowl with the internal pressure. Would you consider getting Allen from Washington? It's a price tag that I don't want to pay. Like I said, if I'm looking at one guy, MJ, and I'm going to pay significant money to, I'm either going to pay significant money to a guy like a Bolton kid from Kansas City. I'll think about that. Or I'm going to go trade for Myles Garrett. The Eagles are champs. They just are going to look different. They're going to look different. The number one defense. Hey, I put this down here. The Philadelphia Eagles are going to be the biggest offseason free agent damaged football team of any team in the league. You could make a conversation. We get Xander at the bottom of the hour here. By the way, guys, please hit the like button. Give me a total. Would you guys say this? Not quarterback related. That the Philadelphia Eagles have the best free agents of all the rest of the teams in this free agent period, you could make the argument that if you just pick the Eagle free agents, you can make your football team better versus going in free agency and finding what I think is one of the worst classes I've ever seen. If I'm going to cherry pick, this is why Philly's going to have a tough time. What is the one thing that hurts and is hurting Philadelphia right now? The shitty free agent market. Do you understand the chances of you signing any of these guys back is predicated on how poor the free agent market is? And I'm not either Howie and the Eagles are going to have to overpay or they're going to have to do some fast dancing here. Guys, if this was last year's free agent market with all those running backs and guys who were out there, it's one thing. You don't have any strength at any position in the offseason here. Maybe offensive tackle, the guy from the Chargers and the guy from Baltimore, which is rare to see two left tackles like that on the market. I talked to Dan Morgan. He told me that. He goes, you know what makes the Eagles and their roster to Howie and puts them in a dangerous position? Nobody's going to take. If you were going to take a DT, who are you taking? We'll take Milton. If I needed an edge, who are you taking? I'm taking Sweat. If I needed a linebacker, who am I taking? Bon. If I needed a corner, who am I taking? I might take Isaiah in the top 3. If I needed a back, a second back, I'd get Gainwell. If I needed a guard, I'd pay Becton. The Eagles have the number 1 coveted players at every one of their free agent positions, except quarterback. That's what makes this. I'm going to say it here. The Eagles could easily be the most devastated free agent team this offseason because there's just not good free agents. And that's where you get the stupid money. That's where you get insane money being thrown at these guys. And what's the most important thing? What's the most important thing? Think about it. You weaken the Eagles. Dude, is there a better linebacker that's a free agent in this upcoming free agent class than Bon? No. Is there a better edge rusher? No. Is there a better guard? Maybe Trey Smith, Kansas City. Okay? Maybe Trey Smith. And the guy from Detroit. Maybe those two dudes. Okay? But he started. You know, I thought about it last night. How much damage do you think the Eagles are going to sustain this free agent period? I think quite a bit. And I was like, because you start looking at some of the names. Hey, let's go here. Let's do this. I'm just going to Google this. Top NFL free agents in 25. Let's just do this. Take a look at, let's just take a look at the top free agents here. Here, Aaron Jones. Okay. You're going to pay $7 million for him? What's his market value? He's 30 years old. Are you going to pay 5.5? That's not awful. Okay. That's not. But just look at the names. I mean, they're not exceptional names here. I just don't see it. Top here we go. Like, here are the names. Okay, here's the names here that I would go. Here. T. Higgins, okay. Trey Smith, okay. Milton Williams is third. Milton Williams is third on that list. Ronnie Staley, good. Bon. Sam Darnold, sixth. Good luck. Josh Sweat's 8. Chris Godwin's 30. Carlton Davis. Okay, he's 28, 29. DJ Reed is 28. Amari Cooper. Byron Murphy. Dre Greenlaw, solid. Nick Bolton's ranked 18th. Hassan Reddick's 20th. Hassan Reddick's one of the top 20 free agents. Fuck that. Khalil Mack is ranked in the top 25 free agents, and he's 35. Why is that? Because the market sucks. I mean, Justin Reed, 28. Cam Robinson, 30. Stephon Diggs, 31. Ranked 30th. Javon Hargrave is the 32nd ranked free agent, and he's 32 years old. Are you going to pay that guy $15 million? No fucking way. Shit, Calais Campbell's 40. He's ranked 35th. That's all you need to know. And Calais is calling it a career, and he's ranked inside the top 50 free agents. The Eagles are going to be potentially the most devastated team this free agent period. You guys keep saying Howie's going to sign him. I believe Howie wants to sign them all back. But, bro, you're fighting the market and the poor free agency and the poor draft. This is one of the worst drafts in 15 years. Where am I going to get a 25-year-old offensive guard like Micaiah Becton? Philly. Where am I going to get a 28-year-old edge rusher? Philly. Where am I going to get a 28-year-old? And that's the problem, too, with Bon. Bon's 28. Going to give that guy a 3-year, $15+ million deal? No fucking way. But someone will. Why would Howie trade? I see somebody bringing trade up. Guy, give me a number on the likes. Please hit the like button here. You guys haven't looked at this right. Free agency's garbage. The draft is not very good. Like I said, you could make an entire team up of the Philadelphia Eagles, and it would be better of a collection of talent than all the teams combined. Non-quarterback. I don't know. Seals, would you consider extending Davis early to a contract that fits his production with incentives regarding or rewarding productivity and playing time? You can leverage the option year and make it a team friendly. You know, if he had made any Pro Bowls, because if I'm not mistaken, I think he was drafted. I forget who he was drafted in his draft class, and he made a Pro Bowl. That puts you up into a tier 1 when it comes to the money. And that's $18-19 million in that extension. He's at the third level, and he's in the third tier, which is $11 to $12 million. I don't know if you're talking about giving him more of a bag of money, using the 5th-year option like they did on Devontae to lower that base over 5 years. Would he want to do that? Remember something. Devontae taking that Philadelphia deal, he wanted to do that. With Davis, not every player is going to do that. Okay? Not every player is going to be that guy. Okay? He's not. See here, the Ski Mask Howie with $40+ million about to do some damage. Really? Okay. Daw Jones thinks that Howie Roseman's going to go out there and start spending frivolously. So, hey, Daw, you think he's going to sign Josh Sweat, Milton Williams, and Zack Bon to record free agent deals. You're crazy. He's not giving Sweat $20 million. He's not giving Milton Williams $20 million. He's maybe going to give Bon 15. I think the Rams parachute in and give him 18.5. Will Howie go there? The Rams are not going to not let him leave the building if he gets out there March 13th. If Zack Bon's on the open market before a contract is put in front of him, he's not coming back to Philly. It's not because I heard the player too. By the way, I went over and I heard him. This is his exact words. You know, it's above my decision making. Whatever the guys do upstairs, my agent, it's out of my hands, really. Well, if he was really emphatic about it, you know, I'm not saying you should devalue yourself, but he was negotiating right there. Gary Cobb's going to join us at 4:30. Gary was right. He's going to test free agency. Be prepared. Then your job's tougher. Shitty free agency, shitty draft, panic teams. Happens every year. Look at Bryce Huff. You did it a year ago. Once you lost Hassan Reddick, you signed a guy who you thought you could reinvent and turn him into, hey, I get their philosophy. They reinvented Zack Bon. They thought they could do the same with Huff. Okay? You had a massive miss and a massive hit. You're batting 50-50. Okay. That's how they think. Nothing wrong with that. I'll take a 50% batting average. I'll bet 500 on that. You can give me an all-pro guy at 1.5 or 2.5 or what, $3.5 million a year, and you give me an all-pro performance versus a guy I paid 17.5 to? Fuck yeah, I'm good. Okay? I'm good on that. Right? Dude, finding Zack Bon covered that shit move of Huff. Okay? I mean, so you are going to be in a position where you're going to be the most attacked team this offseason. They want to make you weaker, and you got the best players. And get this. Xander will know this, and so some of you will. Why do you think you draft from Georgia and Alabama? Well, when Saban was there, or LSU, or some of these places. Ohio State. Why do you draft from those places? You have top talent evaluators evaluating high school kids. And what else? You got the top coaching staffs. In Philly, you're being coached by Vic Fangio and Jeff Stoutland. That's a no-brainer. If I need a tackle or an edge, I'm signing guys who have been coached, played on winners. Look at Josh Sweat since he's been an Eagle. All he knows is winning. Look at Milton. All he knows is winning. That's why Becton doesn't know winning. This is his first taste of it. What the fuck did he ever win at Louisville? This is his first. Why do you think he's emotional on the sidelines? One, he's immature. Secondly, he's never experienced the type of winning. Shit, man. You got backups on your team like Trevor Keegan that have played in 2 championship seasons 2 years in a row. Your team is littered with winners. Littered. There's winners across the board all over the roster. Who in their right mind doesn't want to go and sign a free agent off the Eagle roster now? That's how free agency works. This is why Howie's telling you this thing's going to look different. Sills, I'd let Bon sign a crazy money deal with the Rams. Take the 3rd round comp, sign Bolton, and the third is a better value. You know what you get? Think about it. You sign that guy as a free agent. You get a third-round pick out of him. Howie can't lose either way, except the player who's exceptional. And I'm going to tell you one more time, guys. The key to the Eagle defense is not Zack Bon. The key to the Eagle defense is Carter. That guy being in the middle is the number one reason why your defense was good. How many times, look at the edge rushers that you saw this year. I'll give you two examples. How many people like Trey Hendrickson? How many people like Michael Parsons? How many people like Khalil Mack? Those defenses were garbage, except the Chargers. I mean, guys, if you don't have interior tackle play, I don't care who you have on the edge. You're going to get killed. And so are your backers going to get killed. You got to think this. But by the way, this is all the stuff. I've been in one of these draft evaluation conversations. I've been around Jimmy. I've watched him do this. They sit around the coaching table, and they've got 7 boards up. Potential picks, free agent picks, the market, top-ranked players at every position, and it goes around the room. And what the players will do is a wide receiver coach will sit there in that coaching meeting and go, and a head coach will go like this to him. How do you feel about the depth of your unit? This is what I would say about the Eagles. I think we're exceptional at the top, and we're limited at the bottom. And you are. An injury to any one of those guys becomes one of the issues that you had in your passing game last year. Look at what it did. Your passing game was ranked 29th. Why? Because your wide receivers were in and out of the lineup all year. And you had a great run game. They were up and down. You had nobody to carry the mail throughout the 17-game season. That's how it played out. I mean, is that on Hurts? No. It's at the limited receivers that you had. And when Goddard's out, he puts in even more of an anchor around your neck in the passing game. So, once again, you got to start looking at your rooms. How do you look at the Eagle room? 2 great players. No getting around that. The room, in general, not great. Dotson and Anis Smith and Johnny Wilson and these guys, whatever. These guys are okay. But you don't have enough in the passing game to utilize those guys like you see some of these other. You're not built that way. You're a dominant game on the point of attack on running the ball. That's not who you are, nor would I expect you to be. So in other words if I'm going to be a running attack, I want some physical wide receivers. I don't want Deebo Samuel. I want guys like DK Metcalf. I want big body dudes out there. I want guys who can go out there and block downfield and are committed to doing that for me. It's the kind of receivers I'm looking. Again, building your team correctly that fits your identity is essential. Jamar Chase on the Eagles. People would go, wow. Jamar Chase, you think he's going to put his head in front of a linebacker or a free safety and block for Saquon? I don't know about that. And here, going back to Trey Hendrickson. Hey, what was Trey Hendrickson's 17.5 sacks? What kind of impact do you think he had on that Bengal defense last year? Hey, Kyle, if you're in here, tell the folks what the Bengals defense was ranked last year, overall and against the run. Those 17.5 sacks meant nothing. Why? They couldn't stop the run. You can have all of the edge rushers with great numbers. Look at Max Crosby. Raiders couldn't stop the run. I mean, you've got to build your team from the inside out to be effective on the edges. Dude, Nolan Smith and Jalix Hunt, those guys benefited because of the tackle play in the middle. Because if I don't have to throw the ball, I'm going to run it. And I'm going to run it down your throat. They couldn't. Because Carter was such a force in the middle. Or look at Bryce Huff's numbers. What did John say a year ago? Guy had one of the top get-home ratios. It was a stupid stat. It had no impact. It had absolutely no impact on his game. Well, he really, he gets home a lot. Yeah, when you're down 47-0 and your defense can't stop the run, and he's in a situation where he's rushing on third down, okay. They were inflated stats. 17.5 sacks by Hendrickson. He's a good player. He's on a shitty defense. Why? Couldn't stop the run. Had nothing to do with linebacker play or edge rushing play. They got killed at the point of attack. 25th, the Bengals were. Trey Hendrickson, 17.5 sacks on the 25th ranked defense. Thanks, Kyle. Love you, dog. I'm going to make it great. Now, I'd make a trade for Trey Hendrickson if I'm the Eagles because I got the 2 tackles. Do you know why you're afforded to be able to have Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown as your wideouts? Because you have the 5 guys in the O-line. You're afforded luxury. Same way you're afforded luxury at the linebacker position because of the 2 tackles you have. It's not hard. It's not hard to figure out. Okay? Here, my other questions. Your linebacker room, like I said, Burks is important. Dean's injury. Bon's free agency. What are you going to do? Are you going to draft a linebacker? They're garbage in this draft, outside of the kid from Bama. Here are the top linebackers. Campbell from Bama. This Schweinweinger from UCLA. He's looked at as somewhere between 50 and 65. It's in the second round, okay? Then you got Carter from Clemson. He's somewhere near 90 to 100. It's in the third. You get that kid Chris Paul from Ole Miss. He's somewhere near 115. That's like the fourth round. I mean, this draft ain't great. And here's the other question I have. Darius Slay. What are you doing at corner? What are you going to do at the cornerback position? If you're moving off of Slay, here's the dilemma you have. Okay. I believe that Cooper DeJean can play that corner. Okay. Who's playing your other nickel? Sidney Brown, who hasn't played very much football in the last 2 years and has been constantly injured. Is that your new slot? You bring in Avonte Maddox back. Who's playing that slot position? If you move DeJean out the corner, do you not have a hole now at nickel? Okay. Oh, wait, Sills. What about Isaiah? I'm there with Isaiah. Okay. But if you move off of Slay, are you moving DeJean out? Or do you think that guy could be somebody like a Kyle Hamilton? Would you want Cooper DeJean playing in that slot, which is more like a free safety than he is a corner? Because Nick told you that too, or Vic told you that. It's more of a safety position than it is a corner position. Two completely different. Nickel corner is completely different than playing corner. It's not the same. Are you moving him out there? Okay. Bringing Avonte Maddox back? Are you drafting someone there? Fucking safety positions stink too. So does free agency. And if you go free agency, then you're starting to talk money again. And I got one last question. With all the things that I just mentioned, then you got to have a conversation down the line, not one now here on February 27th. It's going to be interesting to see how Kevin Petullo calls plays this year. I don't care how you look at it. I don't know. You don't know. I do know with experience what it meant last year. Gardner Johnson at nickel and Sidney at safety. So you're counting on Sidney Brown to be healthy when he's never been. Okay. Hey, on February 27th, that doesn't sound awful. But those are my questions. Do I think Howie can fix this? Yes. Am I saying he's not going to resign? No. But you got a horrible draft. You got a horrible free agency class. Ask yourself this most important question. We're going to get to Xander here in a sec. Ask yourself this most important question. Who has the best free agents of any team in the league, and who are the champs? It's the Eagles. If you want good players, championship pedigree guys, first-round picks, reinventing players, go to Philly. Where would I go? The Jets? All right. Guys, do me a favor. Please hit the like button. I love this time of the year because you get a great sense. And for the record, you know, you're going to be in the land of misinformation here because of the NFL drafts. And what is the most important thing right now that's going on at the combines? Do you guys know what's going on at the combines right now? Lies. Because agents are there spreading lies about other clients. Hey, you see Abdul Carter? If I'm Travis Hunter's agent, you know what I'm saying? How are you going to draft that guy number one when he needs surgery? My guy can play on both sides of the football for you and is the most elusive guy and one of the most athletic guys that we've ever seen. Why would you draft a guy who you don't even know if his foot needs? He's going to need surgery. That's the kind of shit you're facing. All right. Without further ado, love talking to my boy. Don't forget, at 4:30, we will talk to our friend Gary Cobb. Please hit the like button. Here he is from Birds 365, our friend Big Z, Xander Krauss.
What's up, Big Sills?
How you doing, brother?
Good, man. How you doing?
Interesting time right now, right? I mean,
yeah, man. I was watching the combines before I came on here. I quickly remembered how stupid they can be, but the NFL is good at making
right?
something.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. How about this? And Baldinger and I kind of said it yesterday, but I'll even add this now. Do you agree or maybe you don't agree? I'll say this, that the free agent class and this draft, I think it's the worst draft in 15 years. There's probably 13 players that could be potential game changers, and not one of them are the quarterbacks. I think you can get a pick at 15 and to pick at 32. I don't think it's going to be that much of a difference.
Yeah.
And I'm with Baldy, man. And
dude, they're saying it's like 15 to 50.
Like, yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
all comparable.
Oh, that's right. That's right. That's more probably to it. I'm trying to be kind here. And then you have the shitty free agency. This hurts Philly because Philly has great players that are going to be free agents. Dude, to me, again, the Eagles there could be some damage done to the roster because of the market temperature. Well, wait, Xander, where am I going to go to get a great linebacker?
Yeah,
go to Philly.
I agree.
Where am I going to go to get an edge? I'm going to go to Philly. Where am I going to go to get a right guard who's coached by Stoutland? I'm going to go to Becton. I'm not saying all of this is happening, but you have the best players in free agency on the world champion team versus trying to go find – why would I want to take a player off the Jets?
You don't, but you got four big ones. Can you get any of them back? And does the free agency and the draft, as you mentioned, which is weak overall, it is in my estimation too, does that change the way you approach the offseason? I mean, because if there's if you go into the offseason and there's 30 linebackers between the draft and free agency that you can get for good money, you're probably not signing Bon. But if you don't feel like there's a good comparable replacement for him, does that tilt your hand on what you do there? The other thing that has me wondering is, with the free agency being so limited and with the inevitable roster turnover coming, does the trade for Myles Garrett make less and less sense for the Eagles because those assets are going to be needed to build out the bottom of their roster? Like, how can you give up? If you're talking about 3 picks, 4 picks, that's 4 bodies you could have on this team for the next 4 years. I'm not saying they're going to be better than Myles, but those are the depth pieces that are going to make up the rest of your roster if you don't feel good about going and getting players in free agency or undrafted guys or whatever. So I don't know. It's an interesting time of the year, but free agency, not good. Draft is – there's some guys I really like in the draft, so I don't want to act like there's nobody.
Yeah.
But it's not super deep. It's everybody's pretty comparable outside of the top 10 guys. And from there, it's close. But I do wonder how it's going to affect the Eagles' plans this offseason.
How about this, though, Xander? You said it. Dude, if the 15th pick and the 50th pick are the same, well, what's the point of not giving up 2s and 3s for Myles Garrett when I could get a guy in the 3rd round and I could have a guy give me the kind of play like Fred Warner. Fred Warner was a 3rd rounder for the 49ers. I could get a guy like that or Jacoby or somebody like that. That to me, if you're talking about the 50th pick and the 15th pick being the same, why not put some draft capital together this year to go get Myles Garrett? I mean, I think it's going to be like I said, I think you've got a ton of question marks here. And now again, nobody's saying, hey, he's not going to, because he has shown in the last 5 years that he has been able to do that. You've been to 2 Super Bowls inside of 4 years. Okay? I mean, he has shown he can. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying there's a little bit more question marks here. I want to go down this list with you here. And these are some of the areas heading into this combines for me that I want to see. And I said that I'd like to see a backup center drafted because I think the kid they signed last year in the 7th round is not very good.
Yeah.
And I don't want to see Landon Dickerson being
– No, they let that guy go.
They let him go?
Dylan McMahon, he didn't even make the team.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then somebody picked him up, but yeah, he was the only draft pick in recent years that we let go. Yeah, we let him go.
I think they need – I'm not saying 1, 2, 3. Jason Kelce was a 6th rounder. You got Kelce in the building. I think you need a little depth there because I thought in the playoffs they got away with it because of Landon. But look at those 2 guys. At the end of the year, Landon Dickerson and Cam Jurgens were hanging on by a tendon.
A tendon, literally. That's putting it mildly. And dude, I mean, let's be real here. I'm really pumped with Cam Jurgens and what he's been.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dude, that's a nasty injury, what he's dealing with right now this offseason. You're talking about back, nerve, discs, all sorts of different things. And remember, we've done this already on the show. You have a player that's job every single day is this. Right?
Yeah.
You're blocking 300-pound men coming at you, hitting you as hard as they can over and over and over again. I mean, that makes my back hurt just doing this.
Yeah. Right.
And now you got a guy getting operated on early in his career. Look, I hope it all goes well, and I hope everything is good there. But I would be thinking about a potential interior guy that could play center in the first 3 rounds. I mean, I know you said late rounds. They'll probably will go there in the late rounds, but I wouldn't rule it out in the first couple of rounds too. Yeah. Yep. I mean, look, this is a team that dominated the NFL this year for one reason, because they're great in the trenches.
That's right.
So go
both sides.
So all the people who want people love pretty picks. People love sexy picks. People love sexy signings and free agents and all that stuff. Don't be mad. Don't be upset when this team drafts trench guys. It never pisses me off. I'll never be upset about it. If you told me right now today on February 27th that our 1st, 2nd, and 3rd round draft picks are going to be interior offensive lineman, a tackle, and a defensive lineman, I would say great. I'm good with that. I'm perfectly good with that. I have no issue with it. So they're going to keep doing it. The question would be is how confident are the Eagles in Cam Jurgens? They obviously know a lot more about him than I do. How are they wondering the same thing I'm wondering? I think it would be fair for them to wonder that. So, I think that would dictate on how early they would go. But I think a depth guy there is for sure. Now, they do have Nick Gates. I think they brought him back, or did they let him go recently? I can't keep up with the whole back end right now because there's just so much change there. But they got some options. The other thing with that is, Sills, is you feel pretty good about the Eagles' ability to kind of take, turn garbage to goal.
Yeah,
I mean, look
yeah,
at Mekhi Becton, right?
yeah.
They got him in a futures deal after the draft.
Yeah.
They couldn't draft a tackle, so they picked up Mekhi Becton. He was supposed to be the swing tackle, and it worked out. Look what it turned into. So I do feel better about that because of Stoutland, but there's no doubt they're going to be thinking about it.
Right guard, you feel pretty good about it if Becton's back. I mean, you have Steen, you'll have Trevor Keegan that you're trying to develop as well. I mean, you could put Driscoll. I mean, I don't know what his status is going to be because he's kind of like a Swiss Army knife. All depending on
right now, so
all depending on Becton there, though. I mean, you're pretty good there at right guard, and I feel pretty comfortable that he's coming back. I do.
I feel pretty good about it too. Of course, somebody could wow him. Somebody could. It's not out of possibility, but I certainly feel pretty good about that right guard. I mean, look, this team was such a dominant run team, and he was such a big part of it. He wasn't the greatest pass blocking guy yet. I do think he'll be better next year, 2 years in Jeff Stoutland's system, if he does have that ability to come back and learn more with Jeff Stoutland and grow as a player and as a part of that offensive line. But unbelievable player in the run game. I mean, unbelievable. And a big part of the reason that we ran for 2,500 yards this year. So I feel really good about him coming back. And I think the one thing that could bring concern there would be the knee. He's had some major knee issues. So we'll see. But overall, I feel really good about Becton coming back. And I think they're going to give him a pretty good contract to come back. I think it could be a 4-year deal.
I think what played into Becton's evolving into a hell of a guard, dude, when you have to line up over Jalen Carter in practice every fucking day in pass rushing drills, and you're lining up over that guy every fucking day, there's nobody in the game you're going to play better than him than the guy in New York,
right,
Dexter Lawrence, and maybe the guy in Kansas City. And I think that had a huge factor in his growth at that right guard position. When you play hey man, when you got that iron sharpening iron kind of bullshit, you had that numerous places this last year.
Right.
A.J. Brown going against Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. What a lesson that is for having guys that are so good on the other side of the ball, being able to help you in that position.
So, right. You know what I will say about what you just said too? I and maybe this is bias, which is fine, but I don't think it is. I get a little bit of that Alabama-Georgia sense right now in the Eagles locker room where, if you think about it, that offensive line's going up against that defensive line in practice. Yeah. Those wide receivers, Quinyon Mitchell's lining up on A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Dude, you're not getting a break. You're not getting a break.
No.
Right? And these guys, I think it's making them so much better. And Zack Bon in practice, he's trying to game plan to getting around that Jeff Stoutland-led offensive line. Like, all of those things, I think that Eagles locker room, that's one of the best parts about it right now is that they got great guys all over, and it's making everybody better and playing better on Sundays.
Every single time we had practices, I can't tell you how many times Jimmy Johnson would come on here. My toughest games were Tuesday to Thursday. They weren't on Saturdays.
Right.
Can you imagine when you were at Alabama, Xander, and you had that backfield, and the toughest part of the week was the week, not the weekend.
It wasn't playing Mercer.
No.
It was playing versus Alabama practice teams, yeah.
Dude, the toughest games you play are Tuesday, Wednesdays, not Saturdays.
That's kind of what I was talking to you yesterday about just the winning culture. And I'm not saying Myles Garrett doesn't have that because he's that good of a player. He would make them better too. But I mean, that type of environment has been forged with the players right now you have in the room. And I think I do think it's worth something. And most people probably wouldn't have the ability to. Most reporters won't look at that as valuable at all.
Jalen Carter has lost 9 games out of 64 pro and college games. 9.
It's insane.
That guy doesn't know what fucking losing is.
I know. It's crazy. It's crazy.
9 losses in 64 professional and college games. That goes with all the Georgia guys.
Yeah.
I don't know how you'll feel on this one. I saw what Howie Roseman and the Eagles did when they were beginning the process of moving Zach Ertz out. They drafted Dallas Goedert in the 2nd round. Now, I don't think there's a tight end outside of that kid from Penn State, maybe the kid from Texas.
What do you think of that Miami kid?
I think he's
Arroyo?
really good. I think he's really good. But you could get him in a latter round, like 3-4, somewhere in there. Okay. I think he's good. I think he's got great hands. Plus, he played in a great pro-styled offense last year. So he's got good hands. And by the way, he's a pretty good blocker, too. So he gives you the versatility that you're kind of looking at that position. I'm about ready to move off of Goddard, though, man. I can't.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Bro, I mean, he is, would you not agree? He is the most injured player in the last 4 years in the offensive huddle.
The problem is, Sills, that there's no contingency.
Right.
Like, dude,
Alcantara's not a contingency plan.
When we drafted Goddard, Ertz was 2 years younger than Goddard is right now.
Yep.
Think about that. So you were prepping for the move on from Ertz with a contingency plan you felt good about in place, and even then it took him a couple of years. Like, if there's no free agent tight end right now, let me take a look at the list. I don't know what free agent tight ends are out there right now. I will look. But if you don't feel good about any of them,
I don't.
You're talking about a draft guy, and you're not getting Tyler Warren.
No.
So you're not getting a surefire guy like that. I mean, that's a tough situation to replace. So Dallas Goedert's going to be here because of that reason, I think.
Absolutely, because of the shitty free agency and the shitty draft where you're not real deep at it. Absolutely.
You got Jawan Johnson, 29-year-old guy.
Look at these guys.
Mike Gesicki, I don't hate. He's going to be 30 coming up next year. So I don't dislike him, but you're not replacing Goddard with a 30-year-old guy. No, Tyler Conklin's 30, and I don't think he's that good. Zach Ertz is 35. Austin Hooper. I mean, you're not really looking at a good list of free agent tight ends.
Or draft, by the way, too. I mean, guys, we're going to read all of your supers, I promise here. Let me get to this one here. Your edge rushing room is going to be a little different. Right now, let's just do this, Xander. On February 27th, here are your edge rushers. Nolan Smith, Jalen Hunt, and Bryce Huff. Those are your three guys right now. Those are not good enough because most likely Brandon Graham is going to retire. Josh Sweat is going on the open market. And when you look at the edge guys that are out there, unless it's a $25 million Khalil Mack, I mean, bro, in my opinion, you got to. I would go into the draft, obviously, here. I think that's top priority here, but your edge rushing room is very limited if you lose Josh Sweat. You were limited last year because of the inability of Bryce Huff to step up and perform for you. Now, this is what you have. You have Jalen Hunt, who came on, sure did. Nolan Smith, who ended up under the knife. And theoretically, right now on your roster, if you were to play a game today, the only edge rushers you have right now are Jalen Hunt and who?
Nolan.
Jalen Hunt and Nolan. Those would be your edges with no depth.
And Nolan just got operated on.
Right. So what are you doing there?
Yeah, I mean, I think Jalen Hunt is going to be great. I really do. Okay. I think he's going to be a great player. I just don't. I think they're not going to come into the year expecting him to be great until they see it. So that's the problem there. I wonder this. You started the conversation with an interesting topic about how there's not a lot of great players right now out in the offseason for teams to recoup with, okay? There's good players, but there's nothing that's crazy. No crazy guys out there. Especially
there's nothing that's going to make the world champions jump off their chair.
Exactly, especially when you're picking 32 in the draft. If you're top 10, we can talk about getting an impact guy.
That's a complete rebuild.
Right. You're talking 32 overall. Could they re-sign Josh Sweat?
Yeah.
I saw something today, and I don't make much of stuff like this, but Jeremy Fowler put out a report.
Everything is open.
Jeremy Fowler put out a report. I think it was a post from his Instagram account, and it was that the Eagles are playing, and Josh Sweat are presumably going to part ways this offseason. Kind of a report like that. Nothing confirmed, but just like we think this is going to happen. And Jeremy Fowler is pretty good. I mean, he's pretty accurate on stuff. Josh Sweat commented on the picture and said, question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. Again, I'm not saying that means he's going to sign back in Philly. But that would show me, if that's Josh's approach, that, hey, we haven't shut the door on Philly. Maybe a deal doesn't get done, but that door is still open. And then if you're Howie and you look around and you're like, well, I'm not going to get a year one starter at 32. I don't really have the capital to move up into the top 15 to get an impact edge rusher. The defensive ends on the market are no better than Bryce Hufflepuff. I might need to get Josh Sweat back. Now, I don't think Josh Sweat's going to be back. I'm just saying, because of the scenario of the offseason, could Howie go back down that road? I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility.
Let me tell you the capabilities and the personality of Drew Rosenhaus. If there is Howie Roseman's counter guy for the agent who calls everyone, talks to everyone, and never shuts the door on anyone, it's Drew Rosenhaus. So if anybody says that Drew Rosenhaus and Josh Sweat are still not having preliminary conversations with Howie, you would be fucking out of your mind. That's not how Drew Rosenhaus operates. I've known that guy 45 years.
Yeah.
That's not how he works.
He wants the best deal.
He wants the best deal for his client.
Exactly.
And he's always done that, and he will always do that. That's who that guy is. Now, is he a dick? Yes. But he's going to be in the best interest of that client. And
Dude,
by
if I
the
was
way,
hiring an agent,
he's
if I was
also
hiring an agent, one of my top traits would be, you better be a dick.
right. By the way, he's also going to make sure, though, because why? You got a big decision coming up if you're Drew with who else? Slay. That's Slay's agent.
Oh, is it?
Yes. Drew Rosenhaus is Darius Slay's agent. You want to start fucking around?
I think so, at least.
However, no, wait. What you don't want Howie to start doing is diminishing the value of Slay by starting the team to start going, yeah, you were going to move on. Fuck. You want everything to be behind the scenes right now. You know how the fastest way not to have that happen? You start saying we have no chance of going back to Philly. We don't want to talk to them. Dude, what's in it for Howie to go, oh, your other client is Slay? We're fucking cutting him right now.
Right.
We're moving on from him. You're trying to get Slay landed somewhere with some sort of decent money if he wants to play one more year. That's the game you play, Xander, is because these guys, Drew's probably got 700 players. I mean, he don't have two guys.
Probably, for sure. He's got a lot of dudes, dude. Drew Rosenhaus got a lot of dudes. Anytime you hear a guy hire Drew Rosenhaus, you know they're looking for the money.
That's right.
They're looking for the money, baby, and you can't blame them for that. They're looking for the money. But we'll see. You know, it is interesting though, because of you just don't. I don't think there's that many guys to replace Josh Sweat with.
Nope.
So like,
I like your thinking. I like your thinking.
Bryce Huff can do anything next year.
No, I think John's like in La La Land with that. I mean, here's what I'm saying. Now, do I think Bryce Huff could be a situational third down pass rusher to help you out? You stabilize the ends, yes. Do I think he could be a 3-down guy? That's not $18 million, but I think you can overpay a guy and he can give you 6 sacks maybe next year. Maybe. The question will be, and I heard you say this, dude, Vic hates that guy.
Yeah.
You deactivate a healthy guy for the Super Bowl?
I know.
The coordinator does not like you.
Well, that's what John was trying to tell me. He wasn't actually healthy, but, you know.
Well, then why'd you activate him? Why'd you activate him for the playoffs?
Because they needed a guy before Brandon Graham got back. Look, I'm with you. All right. I'm with you. Don't get me into the argument of defending what John was saying, but that was his point. It was that, he's injured. He's going to be healthy again next year. We'll see what happens. I don't know. Twiz says I'd bring back Slay. I'm not sold on Rodgers. Twiz, that's funny because I think if I'm not mistaken, Twiz, you've been saying all year, play the young guys, play the young guys, play the young guys. But you are right in that the situation now, I'd probably feel a little better about Slay coming back than Rodgers.
I don't have a problem with. I thought Rodgers was a good swing corner, but when you're being asked for the main assignment, can he do that? I don't know. I mean, being a swing tackle, guard, corner, linebacker, and then getting the 75 snaps. It's a different world, man. I mean. You got more snaps. You got more work on your body. You got all that. There's so much more than just being a swing. I don't know. I think Isaiah's frame is not built to be an everyday corner.
I don't see it either, but people seem to like him.
Well, because it's 70% of the time you're a nickel. Okay. And the league is not really a tackling league any longer. It's a game played in space.
Right.
So that's kind of why people like him. Let me go to another position. What about D tackle? You think Milton's gone?
I do think Milton's gone, and I'm not really upset about that one. I think Moro Ajomo is good. Not great, but I think he's good enough. I think Jordan Davis is going to have a bigger role this year, and you're going to learn real quick whether they're going to bring him back or he's going to be gone. And I think Jalen Carr is going to continue to get better as well. And I wouldn't be surprised if they draft a young defensive tackle, maybe even with that first overall pick. So put that guy into the mix. And I do think you have some good options that will be there at 32. So I'm not worried about Milton Williams being gone. I do think he's going to be gone. I think it does fall into kind of what we talked about yesterday with, I love Milton. He was great here, but this is a product of he's going to get overpaid by a team because that's just how business goes in the NFL.
And the market.
Right, and the market goes. So he's going to get overpaid. He's going to walk, and I don't think he'll be back.
Here is something that I said earlier in the first hour. Dude, Carter's the linchpin to this defense.
Yes.
It's not Bon.
Yes, it's not Bon.
It's not. The main, like I pointed out to you, look at Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons is considered one of the best defensive players in the league. His team was 31st against the run. How can you be one of the best players in the league? You have to have great D tackle play. If you don't, your defense has no shot at being good, man. You have no shot.
No, but here's the thing I'll say about Bon. He wasn't the linchpin, but he is the guy that put the defense over the top. If Jalen Carter didn't have good help behind him, what he was done would have been lost a little bit. Agree or no?
I think Carter impacted everybody.
I'm not saying he didn't impact it. I'm saying when you have a guy that good behind you, you know, he makes those good plays even better, more impactful.
You're right. You're right. Of course, look at the year he had. But to me, I tell you, with the linebacker room, where it is, and with the D tackles, I think you need to get, like you said, that 32nd pick. I think that's an interior tackle or edge, but I'm going to build from within, inside out, not outside in.
Right.
And if I have to move out of that 32nd to get me 2 second rounders or 3 second rounders, so I can address all of that, because like you just said a couple minutes ago, dude, the differences between 50 and 15 are like a sliver. And so if I can get good players in there, why not give myself more of an option at more second rounders in a very limited draft? Because, hey, dude, if I was picking 15 or 10, that's a different world we're in. If you're picking 32nd, this is all about replacing and upkeep. Replacing and upkeep. To me, if I've got Vic Fangio and I've got Jalen Carter and I get maybe the kid from Ole Miss or the kid from Kentucky, I put him in there with Jordan Davis, with Booker, with Ojima, with him. You got all those guys back there. I feel pretty comfortable if I lose Bon and I could go out in free agency if I have to. Dude, the linebacking core stinks in this draft. It just stinks outside of the kid from Bama.
Yeah,
and you're not taking that kid at 32.
No, we're not. We're not at all. And that kid can freaking play. That kid can play. Jihad Campbell.
He's great.
But no, you're right. I mean, that's what makes this linebacker thing done. Now, the one thing is, I do like some of the things you brought up. I mean, I like the Bolton thing. I don't hate that as a contingency plan. I don't hate the Dre Greenlaw plan either.
What about Edwards? TJ Edwards.
Edwards, I don't think he's going to fit what Vic is going to ask him to be. You know, Vic or TJ was a great physical linebacker, but he wasn't
versatile enough.
He wasn't versatile enough, exactly. And you kind of have 2 super versatile guys right now this year, at least with Nakobe and Bon. Nakobe's not ready for the start of the year. He might be. I don't know. I'm with you. Based on the way he was talking, it didn't sound like he was going to be ready, but people are saying 6 months.
His youth helps him.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But we'll see. I mean, Oren Burks, you think he'll be back? I think he could be back.
Yes. I think
he's been in the Super Bowl.
I think he's been in 2 Super Bowls 2 years in a row.
Yeah, it's true.
I'll say this. I think he's one of the most important signs because he gives you he hedges your bets on both ends.
Right.
Dean, say you sign Bon. Well, there's your Super Bowl starters in September until Dean comes back, and then he can win his job back. Or how about this? If Bon goes out and signs a stupid free agent contract because of the shitty free agent market and the draft, then you have Warren Burks. Then you get a guy like a Bolton. You put him in there. Then you got Dean coming back, and you got the 2 tackles in front of you. You drafted that guy from Ole Miss. You strengthen your D tackles, your linebacking core. I mean, dude, this guy's got 2 Super Bowl rings, that kid from Kansas City, and he's 24.
Yeah.
I'm all right with that.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you.
And he was coached by Steve Spagnuolo. Then now he's going to go be coached by Vic Fangio. I think the guy, if you talk about a guy who's a replacement for that in a plan B, I think he's a plan B guy, don't you?
Yeah, I do. It's going to be interesting to see what they do at all these spots. I mean, the linebacker's interesting. I do think that's a good option, but you got to think that with the way that the offseason is set up there, Bon, I mean, they got to be trying to get Bon back. I mean, even if it costs you a couple extra million, right?
I just really, again, Xander, by the way, guys, please hit the like button. I just tell you, of course, I saw that sound clip on IP's website with Bon going, hey, it's out of my hands, upper management's my agent. Now it's public negotiating. I get it. You don't want to devalue anything here, so I understand. But, dude, man, I mean, he didn't even sound like and Gary Cobb's going to join us at 4:30. By the way, he didn't even sound like he was like, hey, this is going to be a decision that my agent, I make, and really pretty theoretically the Eagles make on how high the Eagles are going to go. I mean, I think the Eagles have a ceiling on this. I don't think they're going to go nuts. Hey, dude, just because you got extra money and the cap is at 79.2, that don't 279.2, that don't mean.
I know. Here's my thing with
they're opening the bank.
John's always telling me Howie doesn't think in 10-year increments. He thinks in 3-year increments.
Yeah.
Right? So if you look though, and you're like, all right, the window is open for this team for 3 years. How the hell are you going to let a guy who was that good and that important to your defense go without a real good option to replace him? And really, even if you had a great option to replace him, as far as I'm concerned, outside of Fred Warner and Roquan Smith, nobody's really that guaranteed to replace him. So the guy's right there. You have him in your building already. Just pay him the money.
Yeah, but
if you truly believe that you have a window for 3 years, Sills, you can't let that guy walk out the door.
But Xander, let me ask, have the Eagles ever had a plan, and you're watching now covering the team, have they ever had a plan at linebacker?
No.
Why would that change now?
Because they were the number 1 defense and won the Super Bowl.
Okay.
If it doesn't change now, it'll never change. And if it'll never change, then you got a flawed system.
I think it's 50-50. It changes. I think they believe so much in their picking of players and their evaluating of players that they feel, once again, just like the coaches, that the front office is going to make the right decisions for the team. And guess what, Xander? Last 7 years, you can't dispute them.
No, you can't. I saw a funny thing on Eagles Facebook or whatever, Eagles Twitter or something the other day, and it was like, here's a scenario. You just woke up from a coma you went into in 2016, and the first thing you ask is, how are my Eagles doing? And somebody says, they won 2 Super Bowls, they've been to 3, and they won the NFC 5 times. And you would look at them and say, wow, Carson Wentz is going to the Hall of Fame. And I'm like, no, you wouldn't say that anymore because Carson Wentz isn't even here anymore. But it is crazy how much. Look, I do think there's an element of, we don't quite realize how great this time is for the Eagles. This is a really dominant football team. It's a really good organization right now. They're operating at their best level. But I'm telling you right now, if that window's open, Zack Bon's got to be back. He's got to be back. There's no promise that anybody else would be comparable. And then there's also no promise your defense will be anywhere near as good without linebacker play that was like it was this year, or at least comparable to it.
Let me go here with you. One more here, and then we'll get to the supers here. This Slay move impacts 2 positions. And it's not that easy just to go, well, I'm going to get off of Slay to $12 million. Okay. So are you going to move Cooper DeJean out of the nickel and put him on the number out there? If
I
you
said
are,
that.
if you are, what are you going to do with the nickel? You going to bring Avonte Maddox back?
It's harder to replace nickel based on what our conversation this morning, where it's like
Correct.
there's just not as many guys there. So I don't know. Cooper DeJean's interesting. I believe he could be the outside corner, but if you're telling me you feel like you can replace it easier, keep him on the inside, and then the one thing I wonder is what's the agent going to be saying? And then is it going to be a situation where Cooper DeJean is caught up in the middle of an evolution in the NFL where you're paid less on position and more on your value to the overall defense? Because we had a lot of different outside corners play last year. You had Keeley at times. You had Isaiah Rodgers at times. Slay went down a lot. Even Quinyon went down a couple times. I mean, your defense was always great. Your defense was not great when you had another guy playing the slot corner before Cooper DeJean. So, again, I'm not saying that that's more valuable, but
you're on
do you keep him there? You have more of a rotating door at the outside corner. And then when Cooper's contract comes, you pay him like you pay him like the value that he is. I don't know.
Let me show you something here. 23. Where was the defense weak? It was weak up the middle. Tackles couldn't stop the run at the end. Linebackers were horrible, and the safety position was not very good. Where were you the strongest this year? The tackle positions, the interior linebacker positions, and the safety positions.
Right.
You were more dominant at the safety positions. You were so good in the heart of the defense this year, all the way up the middle.
Right.
That's why you could put Rodgers in on a swing
Right.
and play corner. You could put anybody in at the edge rushing.
So don't you want to replicate that?
Yes, you want to make sure the strength of your team is interior,
right.
Up the middle of your defense. They were so good at every level last year. Tackle, linebacker, safety.
Right, and if you're not good in the middle, it's like a crack in the foundation. Everything else suffers because of it.
Correct. So that's why if you lose Sweat, okay, do I still have Carter Davis and the backup guys in the middle? All right, let's go. Let's see if we can get the kid Sawyer here or what have him put him on the other side of Nolan. You're still going to be okay.
So isn't it Bon or bust?
It seems it because to me, I would be contradicting what I just said. You've got to remain strong up the middle.
Yeah, if you're going to live with changes, let the changes be outside the middle.
Yeah. Let them be outside the middle of the defense. Let them be on the corner because I was just going to go to Slay. Let them be out there.
Right.
Keep DeJean in the middle because you know what he could turn out to be? Kyle Hamilton in a nickel version.
Right. And the other thing is they moved Marlon Humphrey played slot this year, and he got paid like an outside cornerback previously. So you're already, someone brought up Diamador Lenoir, his name is, the San Francisco guy. He was a 5th-round draft pick a couple of years ago. He got paid like 5 years, nearly $90 million, $18 million a year he got, and he plays mostly in the slot. So I wonder if that's what I was saying with is Cooper in the middle of a change in the NFL where you could start to see those guys valued more, especially as a Swiss Army knife guy that can move all around the field. So maybe though the pressure from his agent will lessen if Howie says, look, dude, he's going to get paid. I promise you he's going to get paid like a top outside guy, top corner.
Do not look at size any longer in the NFL because the game is played way more in space.
Yeah.
Okay. But where you got to be strong in today's NFL, the Philadelphia Eagles completely changed the dynamic of that. You were number one because of the tackle play, the linebacker play, the safety play, and the corners benefited. The corners benefited so much from the tackle play and the linebacking play. They shrunk the zone, which was so wide open in 23 at the end of the year. Dude, you could have drove a dump truck through it. You could have, but you know what they did? Because Bon was so versatile, he shrunk that zone. And dude, when I got winning culture, Xander, we talk about those Georgia guys. We talk about the Bama guys. We talk about the Eagle roster in general and what they've done since 21. Think about this. You got a guy in Burks who's been to 2 straight Super Bowls, played in great in this last one against Kansas City. I want him re-signed. He's one of my top guys I want re-signed. And you know what? If I got to pay him $5, I don't care. He hedges my bets.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with everything you're saying right now. I mean, I think you're really laying out how this team can have a formula to be a great defense for years to come. And I just don't see how, based on what you just said, you can allow fluctuation at that linebacker spot.
And we still don't know what Sidney Brown's going to look like yet.
Yeah,
You
but I
have
don't want to
no
put my hopes. I'm not putting my hope in Sidney Brown.
No. I know, but you know what? I see something kind of there. I mean, I want to give him, dude, I got to tell you, I'm starting to go cold on Keely Ringo.
Me too. And I'm not quite as warm on Sidney Brown as you are.
Okay.
Right now what I see, and I might be wrong, I hope Sidney Brown can be a player, but I see a super physical guy. I see a guy who plays with his hair on fire, which is great things. But right now, I see it suited for special teams perfectly, and I haven't quite seen him translate that to in-game play to play, competent football, play after play, on the defense. I don't know. Maybe he can be, but right now I see him as a great special teams guy. I hope he doesn't stick at that. I hope he doesn't get stuck in glue, and he can't improve on that. But that's where I see him right now. That's why I don't want to rely on him, moving forward. But I think he could be an option, in a couple of years.
Remember what Vic likes, though. Vic likes those special teams guys to be able to make safeties and linebackers. That's where he finds those guys. And so maybe a little more work on the special teams will give him. Hey, remember something. Like you said, you got to play with your hair on fire on special teams.
Yeah, that's
maybe
true.
That does fit.
He does have that.
It's his mentality there.
There's no doubt he has that hair on fire mentality. No doubt. No, I like him. I don't want to act like I don't like him. I'm not ready to go into the season with him being a plan to play on the defense. That's where I'm at with him. I'm not that quite there. And like you just said on Keely Ringo, I mean, it's time, young man. You're going in year 3 now. So if you can't prove something this year,
I know he's
probably
young.
out. Yeah,
I know he's young.
Super young.
Okay.
Drafted super raw. But yeah, he's got to turn that page. He's got to open, turn the page and become competent.
Hey, folks, you want to hear something funny about Keely Ringo? This is his second year. He's going on his 3rd year. Is that right? Jaden Daniels will be 26 years old next year. This guy's 22, and he's got 3 years in the league.
Crazy, dude. It's crazy.
Hey,
dude, COVID really changed that with these rookies. There's so many. Like Jalen Hurts is going into his 5th year starting, 6th year in the NFL, and he's my age. Jaden Daniels is 1 or 2 years behind us. It's crazy. So, yeah, that's a big advantage.
COVID did all this.
Yeah.
This is what I said about this draft. Then we'll read the Super Xander. This is what I said about the draft. I think the last 2 years they were backlogged with all the COVID kids, and that's why you really had 2 great draft classes. I think this is the post-COVID ones now because you didn't get that 6th-year eligibility that you had, And that's why I'm looking at this draft and I go, dude, if I'm drafting a quarterback, it's next year. It's Arch Manning. It's not fucking any of these guys.
Yeah.
You hear what Baldinger said yesterday? He goes, if Bo Nix was in this draft, he'd be number 1 overall. Like when you see Abdul Carter, do you see Will Anderson?
No. And I like Abdul Carter. I do not. I don't see
that Will Johnson guy. Do you see Darryl Stingley Jr.?
You know what I see in Abdul Carter? I see a
Hassan Reddick.
I see I guess Hassan Reddick. I see a Nolan Smith. I see a Micah Parsons, just an undersized, speedy edge rusher. That. Look, comparing him to Micah Parsons,
there's a place for that.
Micah Parsons is a good player in the league, so I'm not saying that's a bad thing. But he's not that Myles Garrett, Nick Bosa type of guy. There's not that, but he is a good player though. I do like him.
Are you warming up to my guy Jack Sawyer at 32?
I like Jack Sawyer at 32. I don't know if he fits. Does he fit Vic's defense?
Well, when you watch him in that playoff games and you watch him at Ohio State, I saw him with his hand down and up. And I think you could play him at a 34, 43. I mean,
well, you're going to need that. We know that.
He's 6'4". He plays like Van Kinkel. If you like Van Kinkel was first team All-Pro.
Yeah, he's not as big as I thought. I mean, 6'4", 260.
Perfect.
That's not crazy.
That's perfect for that.
That is perfect for that.
Yeah, you put him on the other side of Nolan Smith. So your front four would be Nolan Smith, Jack Sawyer, and your 2 tackles. And if you get Bon back, you had Bon and Nakobe or Orrin until Nakobe gets back. That's your front 7.
That's
Bro,
good.
That's taking care of business.
Wait, who did you have at the other DT? Just Davis and Carter?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
So I'm going to play a 4 now if you want to, or draft a kid. Okay, no, or take a kid in the second round, one of those defensive tackles, because like I said, remember what you said?
Yeah.
Between 15 and 50, they're the same dude.
Yep.
Just got different names on the back of the jerseys, right?
Well, yeah, we'll see how they all pan out. But no, there are some good tackles in there too. I mean, there's that one. I'm blanking on that one guy's name. Let me pull it in my notes.
Which
the
one?
guy's name I like a lot, but I think he's going to go before 32.
Jameer Stewart?
No, Walter Nolan.
Yeah.
Walter Nolan. He's a great player. I like him on the interior a lot, but I don't think he's going to get there to 32. Look, there's some options there. I like Jack Sawyer, though. The way you just explained that was nice. I could see that. And then you have him and Jalix rotating as your rotational two, and then Bryce Huff as your fourth option at edge rusher. I feel much better about that. Now, again, dude, every sign right now points to you got to get Zack Bon signed. If the other three walk, you live with it. I think Becton will be back, but you got to get Zack Bon signed, because if you don't get Zack Bon signed, now you're going to have so much change on your defense. There's no way to project they'll be even as good as – there's no way to even look here, when we're in August talking training camp and say, okay, here's the number one overall defense. That's going to be so different. You're going to say –
the middle strong, you'll be okay.
So, Bon, get freaking Bon signed.
Keep the middle of the defense strong. You can afford to lose guys on the perimeter, dude. Dude, you're only as strong. The Eagles won the Super Bowl because of how they were up the middle of their team. Look at this: center, quarterback, running back. Take that and go the other way. I mean, God, you're so good up the middle here. Let's get to the Super, Xander, because we got Gary at the bottom of the hour here.
Abe checks in. What's up, Abe? Hope you're doing well, brother. Reddick, Chance, and trade Slay for Carlton Davis. I'm going to say no on Reddick, and I'm going to say no on Slay for Carlton Davis, because I don't think the Lions will do that.
They're not going to trade a 34. They're not going to trade for a 34-year-old guy with a $12 million nut on him.
Yeah.
It's not going to work. And a guy who was injured on and off, albeit he played well.
Slay is zero trade value.
Zero.
Yeah.
He wouldn't if he was making somewhere like 6, but he's making 12. Not happening.
Anthony Wilson, the tight end from Michigan, is good as well. I want to say, is that Colston Loveland?
Yes. Yes.
I like him too, Anthony. I like him too, Colston Loveland. He's a good player. Brian Fleming checks in. What's up, Brian? I want to recognize Big Sills for bringing great voices on the show. Baldinger, Eric Allen, Jimmy Johnson, to name a few. Elevates the convo for Jacob. You're a dog. I don't care if you can't read. Don't take shit from anyone.
Thank you, dog. We appreciate it,
man. And then last one here, and we'll get the JAKIB. TH from the 203. What's up, man? Do the NFLPA report cards mean anything to us? I know the Dolphins have won the science fair as usually, which is squat. Yeah, I don't think they mean much.
Can I make a point before I get Gary Cobb on here? Gary Cobb played at the old Eagle Vet. We had cats and rats. Let me just tell you this as a player. It's good to have a good training room. It's good to have a good mess hall. But at the end of the day, as long as that paycheck, you're paying me top dollar in the market, I don't give a shit if you have a nice couch. I don't give a shit if you have a nice slurping machine. Pay me. I'll go to an LA Fitness, bitch. I don't care if I have to work out. Just pay me.
If you pay me right, I can go to a little nicer than the LA Fitness too. I could go to a Lifetime or an Equinox or something like that.
I'll put a gym in my house. I don't need to have – hey, bro, you paying me? You're giving me the money that Howie does? I don't need a fucking slurping machine.
I'm with you.
I don't care about that shit, man. Yeah. But by the way, though, I do have a quote here that I do want to say. So the players find it hard to communicate with Nick Sirianni? Where the fuck did that come from?
Oh, come on. That's fake news. That's bottom roster, guys.
Wait a second. I got that. There it is right there. It's
Nick Sirianni changed the entire team when Lane Johnson said, I want to run more. What are you talking about?
Hold on for a second.
The players. The whole team won a Super Bowl because he listened to the players.
Hold on.
Fake news. Hey, there's been a lot of fake news this week, silly.
Hey, hold on for a second. This is what I just read off the NFLPA. This is the player saying, let's see here. Head coach. The players feel that Sirianni is moderately receptive to locker room feedback on the team's needs. They ranked him 18 of 32 head coaches in the league. What?
Silly will be using that one line from that for a month of content. Silly, I love you. I got to go. All right. Enjoy the show.
Get out of here, man. I appreciate you, Xander. We'll see you tomorrow, man. Holy cow. Moderately receptive to oh man. Hey, so Gary Cobb, I'm sure because he was at Southern Cal. anytime you do a pro day and you get some of the weirdest questions asked. I told you I had Jerry Angelo and I had Rich McKay, who were with the Bucks. And G Cobb's going to laugh his ass off before I bring him in on this. They go, how many Mafia family members do you have? And I remember telling Jerry Angelo, I go, excuse me, don't you have an O at the end of your name too? And he goes, yeah. I go, well, how many Goombas do you have in your family? And by the way, if I was knee deep in it, I wouldn't be here. And he goes, touche. I go, your last name has an O, Jerry Angelo? He goes, yeah. I go, Sileo Angelo? We must be part of the same Italian mobster family out of New Jersey, right? And Jerry goes, good comment. They're waiting to see how you respond. That's what they want to hear from you. If you'll blow up, they'll ask you some of the crazy. Jeff Ireland asked this question to Des Bryant. How long's your mom been a prostitute? And I remember getting on Jeff Ireland's shit going, what does his mom have anything to do with football? And Jeff said this, those questions now have been modified. You can't ask that shit anymore. But that's the kind of shit they used to ask us, Gary and I, and all the guys that were evaluated. Let's bring him in here. It's a weird process talking to these NFL guys when, like, hey, folks, by the way, I want to show you something about Gary Cobb. What makes Gary Cobb so unbelievable in his career, Gary is the 1% of 1%ers. That's a 10-year guy. You know what round he went? He went in the 12th round.
No, it was the 9th.
The 9th, get this.
Yeah.
Folks, they don't even have 9 rounds today. Okay? And he played 12 years. I
11.
mean, well, I'm going to give you the extra one because of love.
That's right.
Gary.
Yeah.
Just about being underdrafted. And why do you think they missed you? Why do you think they didn't
Well,
see
you know
it?
what? You know what it is? I was lighter than I should have been because, I was running. I wanted to run a good 40 time. And I think I was weighing like 220. And, I ran like, 4.55, but, I was 220 pounds. They didn't want to play in linebacker because everybody ran the ball back then,
Everybody was 250. The backers were 250, like Levon Kirkland and them dudes.
That's right. Because everybody ran the ball. So it was natural for me to put the weight on. It wasn't a problem, but I wanted to run a good 40 time, and it really was a kind of a mistake because, I was lighter than I should have been. So that really hurt me and everything. But, it all worked out. If you can play, they're going to find out you can play. So ultimately, that's what it comes down to. So I always encourage guys because you got a lot of guys get caught up in everything else is going on. I say, look, if you go in here and you can play, they're going to find out you can play. And that's ultimately what this is all about.
Don't you agree also, Gary,
mm-hmm.
that to me, it's where you're drafted. That must have been a good situation in Detroit for you, that you had good linebacker coaches and good evaluators of talent, that when they initially saw you, they
mm-hmm.
knew. Because I made this comment about Burt Grossman a couple of years ago. Burt Grossman's first 2 years, he goes to the Chargers. He has 20 sacks. They get a brand new coaching staff in there with Bobby Ross. They change
mm-hmm.
the defense. He has 2 sacks a year after that because he was not being utilized. Doesn't it matter with this draft? Not only that, if you're a good player or not, but where you're drafted, if you're drafted in a good organization.
Well, that is very important, without a doubt. That's very important. And if you have good teachers, guys who teach the game, and really that's what the Eagles this year. You got to take your hat off to the way, at the end of the season, they got 2 rookies starting. They got a bunch of young players contributing, and that means you got to have good teachers. You got good coaches that are doing their job. But I'll tell you this now, Maxie Bourne was a guy who really helped me. Maxie Bourne was a linebacker coach who I learned a great deal from him. He sit me down and explain things, and then, you got to be able to absorb it. But you got a good teacher there, guy who teaches you, will break things down, He'll sit you down however long you need to be in there to teach you, what should you be looking for in the film? When you're looking at the film of the team you're getting ready to play, what should you be looking for if you're a linebacker? Looking at formations. What do you see out of a formation? Being able to read the offensive line. The guys, come on. When those big guys get tired, they don't care who they're telling whatever to. They don't care, man. So they're going to tell you things. And that's what a good linebacker knows, is they're able to anticipate the play by looking at the stances of the offensive lineman, looking at the formation. You know who they want to go to, who the best players on that team. So you know who they're trying to get the ball to, things like that. But, being able to do that. Now, I saw like Zack Bon this year. Guy had never even played, regular linebacker. He'd only been up on the line, rushing the pass or whatever. I mean, to see him blossom like he did, and to see those rookies come in and contribute like that, great job by the coaches. And I know that there are probably going to be people after some of those coaches if they're smart.
How about this, though, Gary? Here's my problem with where the Eagles are right now in free agency and the draft. Brian Baldinger was on yesterday, and he and I don't believe that this is a very deep draft. And it doesn't look very outside of maybe the top 15 guys. From 15 to 50, they look like the same dudes. And then you look at the shitty free agent market, there's just not a lot of places where the Eagles are fighting a poor draft and they're fighting a bad free agent market, which means look at the players the Eagles have that are free agents. They're all from a winning culture. They're all contributors to the Super Bowl, which means that I think they could be the most devastated team in the offseason here because think about it, Gary. If I'm looking for a linebacker, I'm looking at Zack Bon right now.
Eagles cannot let Bon get out there. They cannot afford to let him go. They cannot afford that.
Do they have to offer him a contract before March 12th?
I think they got to go ahead and they got to let him know we want you back, and they got to put some money out there. I think that. I mean, I don't see how you let him walk because you got a guy that contributed so much. You can't let him go. Who are you going to replace him with? I don't see him. Where they at? They got to have him. Now they might lose, one or two of the defensive linemen. You got a better chance of replacing him or replacing them than replacing him. And I don't think they can let Zack Bon leave out of there. They cannot afford to do it because he's such an integral part. I mean, I didn't know the guy was this good. I mean, he's very smart. You got a smart player and you got a very athletic linebacker, guy who can run with a lot of people. I don't think they can afford to let him go. They're not the same team without him, I don't think.
Gary, I think the difference, I was just telling Xander this, I think the difference between 2023 and the 24 defense, I think it's up the middle. You had great tackle play, you had great linebacker play, and you had great safety play. And I don't think you cannot have a number one defense if the defensive tackles are not playing really great against the run. Because like you said, man, you can look at Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons had another double-digit sack year. They were 31st against the run.
Yeah.
I don't care how good you are. If your defense is 31st against the run, that just shows me you got to build from within. Don't you agree, Gary, that, I mean, look, if Bon gets on the open market, what do you think the chances of him re-signing are? Because it's a bad market. It's a bad draft for linebackers. If he gets out there, Gary, I don't think they resign him back because there's half the league is stupid teams, and don't throw stupid money at him.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I think they need to go ahead and get him done. I think he wants to come back, but that's not about that. And he was clear because I talked to him. I'm standing there talking to him face to face. He said, "I'm leaving this up to my agent," meaning like I'm going to let my agent do his job. And that means the agent's going to be out there trying to get the money. I think they're going to have to give him some good money, but I think it's worth it. Who are they going to replace him with? I don't think there's anybody anywhere that's going to come in here and replace him. So they got to get him. If they lose some of the defensive linemen, then so be it. But I don't think they can afford to lose him because he's proven to be so valuable in so many ways against the run and the pass. He's making more tackles than anybody on the team. He's getting his hands on footballs. He's a good blitzer. He does it all. I mean, and I'm more shocked than anybody because you don't expect the guy to come in and just out of nowhere just blossom like that. But that's what they got.
How about this one here? I think the linebacking room is pretty interesting right now because to me, I think another guy that is mandatory that they sign is Oren Burks, and here's why. Let's just hypothetically say, Gary, that Oren Burks or Bon gets out in the open market and he signs. Dean is not expected back until October.
I know.
So now you have at least a guy who started in your Super Bowl year at the Super Bowl and played great throughout the playoffs. You have one guy in there, and you probably can get him signed for $5 million. Played with Vic. You have a guy there. Again, that Nakobe Dean injury, don't you think, kind of throws a wrench in it a little bit here because what are you going to do here? You can't just let Burks and Bond go.
Yeah, you're right. You can't. So I think, with Burks, I would agree that you can get him. You're not going to have to give top dollar for him, So you go ahead and get him signed, and that does give you a little insurance, because Nakobe's not going to be ready, but you want to go ahead and sign Bourne too, but you can get Burks. I think you can get him done. You're not talking about big dollars for him. So I'd say go ahead and get that done.
How about this here? Another position. Again, this is kind of where Howie is. He said it was going to look different. And I think as long as they keep the middle of that defense intact, I think they're going to be pretty good coming back. Like you said, they may lose somebody at the numbers. They may lose somebody at the perimeter. But as long as they keep the middle of that defense here. Now, here's the thing with Slay. I don't think it's that easy of a conversation. So if you move away from Slay, which you probably should, he's 34. He's got a $12 million number. Are you going to move DeJean out there? And if you are, who are you moving into that nickel? Avonte Maddox? Sidney Brown?
I think Isaiah Rodgers, I don't know what he's going to go for. You probably could get him for a good price. But you're not going to re-sign Slay. And but even I wouldn't be totally opposed to even looking at some of the other young cornerbacks they have on the team already. But I don't think you want to move him outside. I definitely don't want to move DeJean outside because I don't think there's anybody else can go in there and play that nickel spot as well as he does. And I don't see anybody coming out that you can find a guy that's going to be able to do the things he does. I think he sticks out better when you got him playing nickel because he's one of the guys that will come up, has no problem coming up, forcing things against run. He's willing to tackle. You're not going to find a lot of corners who are willing to tackle. It must be something in the water or something. Yeah. You cannot find a corner that is crazy about tackling. You found one in DeJean, and so you got to leave. He's got to play nickel. You don't want him playing out there on the outside because I don't think that anybody, at least this past year, played it as well as he did. The kid will tackle. He covers. He's able to blitz. I mean, they really, man. I know you talk about the coach, and he had a good year and everything, but they were very fortunate with their picks, man. They really had some great things happen, and we'll see if these kids can keep playing like that. But DeJean is he's a serious nickel because he got the size, and like I said, he's willing to tackle, which is unusual because it's become a plague in the NFL where corners don't want to tackle anybody.
No question.
It's a wonder that any of them become fathers because I know how they're able to tackle their lady at all because some of them seem like just opposed to contact. I mean, look, I'm telling you, I'm saying these corners, man, they do not like contact, man.
Dion would be even a bigger star today.
That's right. He would. He would be an even bigger star. That's right. He would.
I want to show you how dominant the Philadelphia Eagles have been at one position, which is crazy. When Jordan Mailata's contract matures at the end of the day, Do you know when his contract is up that the Philadelphia Eagles over the last 30 years would have had 3 left tackles in Trey Thomas, the big fella that 17, and Mulata, Jason Peters.
Yeah, Jason Peters.
You would have had 3 players
Wow.
over 30 years
Wow.
playing left tackle.
That's amazing. But hey, an outstanding. Every one of them. Golly, that's amazing. Big Trey Thomas, and Jason Peters and Jordan Mailata. I mean, that is amazing.
30 years of left tackle with 3 dudes.
Woo! That's amazing. It makes some good choices. It makes some great choices. That's amazing. But that says something to be, to play that position, and you got all pro guys there who are playing at a very high level. You can basically go home and get some sleep at night.
Hey,
the quarterback can sleep at night.
For 30 years, you're protecting the quarterback's backside with 3 dudes.
Woo! That's amazing.
I can't. You can make the conversation about the quarterback thing up in Green Bay where you had Favre and Rodgers and now this kid Love. I get it. That's 30 years. But left tackle, there is no place in the Raiders used to have that kind of stuff.
That's right.
Now you have it here in Philly where 3 dudes will have played 30 years at left tackle.
Wow.
Is just it's a testament to talent evaluation and also coaching here too.
Yep.
2 last ones here for you.
Mm-hmm.
Are you concerned at all? Angelo came on and he kind of got into it a little bit here with Kevin Patullo. Here's a guy that has never called a play.
Yeah.
In his entire coaching career. He's never been a coordinator. And what we learned, one thing about what Nick said, which I thought is good coaching on his end, he said that Kellen had a collaborated conversation with everybody on putting a game plan. But at the end of the day, Nick said this, it was Kellen's call.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about Kevin Patullo having that autonomy? Will they give him that autonomy? And are you concerned about a guy, because we saw it play out with Brian Johnson you basically gave the keys to a Ferrari to a high school student. I mean, how do you feel about it?
I don't feel good about it. I don't want to really step on his shot and everything, but I think it's amazing that you would do that. I mean, because like you said, this is Ferrari, whatever you want to call it. You got a team just won the Super Bowl, and you're going to come back the next year with a guy calling the plays who never called the plays. Now he's heard, but there's a lot of coaches that have heard people, call the plays. They hear him all the time and everything, and he's been a part of it and everything. But I hope Nick is right, man, because this would be to waste this year. You got all these guys in their prime. You got all these players. You look at the receivers you got, and with Jalen, with Saquon, with all these pieces in place. And, if you don't get that right, man, woof. But I hope he's right.
You give them do you give them the benefit because they're champs in this one here? Is this? And I know, Gary. Look, me and you are the same.
Well, look at they were wrong. Look at they just screwed it up a number of years before that, a number of times. So
I know.
I don't see how you could say, well, yeah, they're going to get it right because they've missed it before, and to have a guy who's never done it before, that's why I wanted them to go outside, man. Go find somebody that's a sure thing, because you got a team that's in prime condition. You don't want to screw up this year, Now, hopefully he's right, but he knows he's taking a chance.
Look at Gary, what they did. They went outside the organization last year. Look what it resulted in.
Yeah, I mean, they got a guy comes in with a resume. He done it before, and really, Kellen made a major adjustment. Come on,
he did.
He was not calling what he usually called. he changed the whole rhythm of everything with the way he ran the ball. He never ran the ball like that. Come on. Never did. And he stayed with it, even to the point where somebody's saying, look, throw the ball. He was consistent and did what I know Nick got in his ear looking at their talent, and they did it the right way. And, and so he's taking a chance, with this, with the guy that he put in there, what's his last name?
Kevin Patullo.
I hope he's right, man. I hope he has a great year, but here he is with a Super Bowl caliber team. And this is his first time calling plays.
No,
he better put on his big boy pants.
Hey, I'm with you here. Finally here. At 32, what do you think the biggest need of this team is? Well, again, February 27th, okay? That all could change after they watch the draft the next 3 days, free agency, all the decisions that have to come. So obviously this is a moving goalpost here, or moving stick here. But for you right now, where you are at the end of the month, pass rusher, because the chances are they're going to lose a pass rusher or two. Yep.
So if you're looking at things now, they could use a pass rusher. Now they got some guys who have shown the potential, but that is the question mark. The chances are they're going to lose some pass rushers. So that's where I would say you want to draft. They add a pass rusher, and of course, expecting to get something out of a kid in his first year is a lot. But hey, that's the business they're in. So you got to go out and find a pass rusher who can come in and give you something ASAP. That's what I see,
Absolutely here. Gary, it's going to be interesting over the next couple of weeks. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it.
All right. Have a good one.
You got it. Gary Cobb from Fox 29 in Philadelphia. Make sure you check him out. I do want to hit on this here, by the way. Before we take a timeout, do me a favor. Please hit the like button. Give me a total on the likes now. I mentioned this with Gary. Think about the dominance that the Philadelphia Eagles have had at left tackle. 30 years, 3 players, 2 coaches, Howard Mudd and Jeff Stoutland. There is no coincidence on why you've been so dominant. Guys, let's get over 200 by the top of the hour here. There is no question. Think about, you can't name me another team in NFL history that has guarded the backside of the quarterback with 3 dudes. Incredible. I started looking at the history of the offensive line of the Eagles last night. And I went all the way back to the 04 team. And I started looking at the old line that you guys have assembled. And then I started thinking about the coaches that you had with Howard Mudd. And also with Jeff Stoutland. It's unprecedented that you got great coaches, great talent. Juan Castillo, too. Throw him in there. Absolutely. Look at those 3 dudes that have protected your offense. Dude, the Philadelphia Eagles, the reason why you're successful is because of coaching, talent evaluation, and the way, dude, what did Jimmy Johnson say here on this program? The most important coaches that you could possibly have is your offensive line coach. It's remarkable. We still got a ton of stuff to hit on here. By the way, today was linebackers and D-line. We are going to look at the top 20 players that are in this draft, and I'm going to make a point to you why it's not as strong as a draft as you potentially think it is. I got another question here for you before we go to the timeout. What will this defense look like if Zack Bon's not on it? If Zack Bon is not on the Eagle defense in 2025 in September, what does it look like? What will it be if he's not there? 1-15 says Twiz. Senor says the number one defense again. So he's okay with letting loose a Bon. Okay? That's what he's saying. If Bon's not on the team, the Eagles be the number one defense again. Bon is not going anywhere. I think it's 50-50. Even better. So Dodd thinks it's okay to move on without him. So Bon and Senor are cool and thinks the defense won't suffer at all without Zack Bon. Okay. Let's see what Forrest says. Bon made instrumental plays. You can't, instinctual plays. You can't coach. Plays that determine games. Absolutely. If Bon isn't back, are we still going to be top 10? Hey, I'm Reyes. I think as long as you have Carter in there, you're going to be top 10. Okay, I think you're going to be. Sills, how do you keep energy every time you have to talk about Bon every day? Not a knock. I'm generally impressed. I'm burnt out and I don't even have your job. Well, I love what I do. Simple. I'm not talking fucked up politics here where it makes me miserable. Hey, you ever hear you do something you love? How could you ever lose your energy? Do you? I mean, thank you, Curtis. I appreciate that, dude. Really great. Just saying. How in the world, when you're doing something you like? Here's Michael. Bon needs to be resigned. Without him, the back end of the defense will suffer, especially the middle of the field. Absolutely true. Thank you, Bruce. I appreciate it. Thank you. Yes, Bon, and you were strong up the middle. So how many people believe that the defense will look different? I say it does too. Carter's the key, though. Here's what I would do. My game plan on February 27th. I'm signing a D tackle or an edge or moving into second, getting me 3 2s. I'm getting help for Carter, and I'm signing Bon. I'll lose Milton. I'll lose Josh. I can replace the edges. The success of my team and my defense is in the middle of the field. That's why you were better. You know why you lost the Super Bowl in 22? You lost the Super Bowl because you weren't strong up the middle. And I'm talking the tackle position. You were good in the middle at linebacker, good in the middle with Epps and Gardner Johnson in the backfield. You weren't good up the middle. You just weren't. This year, you were great at tackle, linebacker, safety. The heart of the defense was the best part of the defense. That's why you got away with edge rushers who weren't dominant guys. You know, we're the least talented position on your defense compared to what you have under contract now. Your edge rushers are nowhere near the equity and the money that you spend with your tackles. You got a sensational year out of Bon. Fuck, you got a sensational year out of Orrin Burks. You got a sensational year, second half of the season, out of Gardner Johnson, who also played great in your secondary and in the safety position. Reed Blankenship. Think about what I'm saying here. Every guy had a career year up the middle. Carter, Davis. It's the best he's looked in 3 years. Bon, Dean, Burks, Reed, and in the slot, Cooper DeJean and CJ. All of them had great years. Every one of them up the middle. All had career years. Yeah, but the problem that I have, and he's not wrong, Yale. You can't pay a guy $12 million playing 20 plays. You need more out of that. That's why I think you need more help for Davis. You need a pass rushing other. Jalen Carter can't continue to take those double teams on. It's going to cost him. It's going to be something catastrophic in there. He can't keep taking doubles on. Just explain why Burks was better on the Eagle defense than the Niners. Simple. The defensive tackle play against the run was better, and they kept him off him. Why is it Fangio that brought out the best in him, but put him in the right position to succeed? Both. Senor, think of this. I don't care who your linebackers are. If you've got good D-tackle play on any team in the league, you're going to have a top-flight defense. You show me a top-flight defense, I'll show you great tackle play. Who was the second-best team versus the run in the NFL this year? Was it Baltimore? Okay, good tackle play. Who else said good? I guarantee most of them are probably playoff teams. Who are the hey Kyle, if you're still in here, who are the top 3 teams against the run this year? Okay. And by the way, let me just take a look at that. And for the record, I think the Eagles all year long, I think they had a really good run defense. Here's the numbers here. Rush defense, not total defense, rush defense. Here are the top teams. Ravens, playoffs. Vikings, playoffs. Lions, playoffs. Steelers, playoffs. Packers, playoffs. Chiefs, playoffs. Eagles, playoffs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of the top 10 teams versus the rush, versus the run, were playoff teams. And one of them was the Super Bowl champions. You think there's any coincidence to that? There's no coincidence to that. Here, and look at the top-ranked defenses. Every single one of those top-ranked defenses that were great against the run, the pass defense, is a precursor to how good you play against the run. Here's total defense. Eagles, Super Bowl champions. Look at this here. Titans, total defense, nowhere. Jets, nowhere. Dolphins, nowhere. Packers, Texans, 49ers, nowhere. Chiefs, Ravens, 5 of the top 10. If you're great against the run, you got a great defense. It's not pass defense. It's run defense. Eagles were, get this, how in the world the Eagles were 8th against the run and 2 running the ball? Can't beat that. You can't beat that. It's impossible to beat a team like that. Why? Because you're getting beat up. The Eagles beat teams up last year on defense and offense because they were great up the middle. Great in the O-line, great in the defensive tackle position. That's why you're Super Bowl champs. You were tougher this year. You were more physical this year. Okay? And get this. You can only cover for so long, need a good front. Always start with the trenches. Think about this, Twiz. The Philadelphia Eagles were so good in the fucking Super Bowl, they didn't blitz once. They stopped the run and got home. I mean, and I didn't blitz. I don't know if I've ever seen a football team win a Super Bowl in a Super Bowl that didn't blitz. It's getting it done. And if Bon's not in there, how's that defense going to look? You're going to lose a playmaker. Okay? Could that defense, here, no one's asking this question. Could your defense overcome the loss of Bon? Would you have won the Super Bowl without Zack Bon? That game's probably not a blowout, but I still think you win it. I still think you win it. Bon was really good in that game. But then again, Josh Sweat and Milton Williams played well because of the interior tackle play. Telling you guys, your defense stems off of Carter. Carter is the key to it. Without Carter in there, you're a 18th ranked defense. If Bon's not in there, you lose a playmaker and a versatile player for sure. Zack Bon's probably the best linebacker that the Eagles have had in 15 years that was versatile at playing the run and covering. TJ Edwards was not very good at covering, and nor was Kaiser White. Let's be candid. And Zach, the thing that I like about him, he ran from sideline to sideline. Something else to think about when you're negotiating for Zack Bon. How many years did Zack Bon play special teams in New Orleans? 4? You know what his agent could say? Zack Bon's a young 28. This was the most reps that Zack Bon has played in his entire NFL career was in Philly. I thought about this, and if you're an agent, you can turn that on the Eagles by saying this. Well, he's a young 28. He doesn't have the mileage that Roquan Smith and Patrick Queen and Fred Warner have. He doesn't have the miles, nor the injuries, and the history of the injuries, because he's been a special teams guy. So he's a young 28. You could make that pitch that he's a young 28. Hey, man, you know, these other guys have played over 700 snaps a year for 4 or 5 straight years. This is the first time this guy's done this. You know, Zack Bon probably played more snaps this year in his career than combined in his entire career at a respected position. So, is he really 28 body-wise? No. No. It's like having a 2020 car parked in your garage and you never drove it. It may lose some value, but the car doesn't have the miles on it. I mean, right? I feel pretty good about going into negotiations. Seals, why do you think Vic said Carter can't get frustrated when taking on doubles? Because he'll run around a block. I talked to Clint about this. You know what he does? He takes his team out of position. Listen, I don't really like talking shit on Jalen Carter because I see too many good things about him. Here's what he does. Here's a negative on Jalen Carter. Carter will get double teamed so many times in there, and the refs are not giving him the benefit of the doubt yet. So you know what he does? He'll run around the block. create a lane. And that's what they're doing. Offensive coordinators and offensive line coaches are now doing everything they can to frustrate him because he'll get high and he'll run around the block. That's something he has to fight. He takes the lazy way out, as anybody would. Jerome used to do that. That's one thing Milton Williams didn't do. Milton never got frustrated. Now, he was never double-teamed to the extent that Jalen Carter's double-teamed. So you got to keep that all in perspective there as well. That's what he's saying. Okay? Absolutely, Sills. Him and Milton have to be resigned. Running around blocks will open up his gap responsibility, creating a hole for the quarterback to escape. Correct. That's what happened. You saw that in the Washington game too. He did that a lot in that Washington game. He got frustrated. It's funny. When Hurts went out in that game, the defense kind of fell apart a little bit in that game, and they lost their integrity. That was probably one of the only games that the Eagles lost their integrity defensively. They weren't set the edges well, and they ran around blocks, most notably Carter. And Sweat was a no-show in that game. Bon still played well. They weren't getting knocked off the ball, but they were just running around too many blocks. And really, like, it took the wind out of the sails when Hurts got hurt in that game. And you saw it affect the defense when on that other side. I mean, when I say running around a block, if you're supposed to have your head play side, which is front side, and all of a sudden he comes down with a tackle and he hits you and you're double and you go backside, you create a run lane. You got to stick with your integrity and stick with your keys. And he gets frustrated. And he'll look for the ball and he'll get high. Never look for the ball. Your keys will take you to the ball. I tell you this all the time. Fundamental keys in playing defensive tackle. Don't ever look for the ball. Most of the time, the ball is a deception piece. They're trying to deceive you with the ball because they're going to run counter tray on you. I can tell you this. When a guard goes this way, center comes this way, look inside because the tackle or the guard's coming on the other side and he's going to try to wham you. They want to do an inside play on you. It's called an influence block. I could almost do this stuff blind. Okay? When he's trying to get inside on you, what is that guard trying to do when he gets inside of you? This is what Davis does this in big time more. When a guard makes a flatter step inside, what's he trying to do? He's trying to get on the second level and up to the linebackers. He's trying to chip you, hold you for the onside tackle to come down and chop you down at your knees and try to slip and scoop up onto the linebacker. And hopefully you get into the third level like you see Cam Jurgens or you used to see Jason Kelce do that. So it's really all in the feet. Playing offensive guard and offensive line is in the feet. Flat steps, deeper steps, set steps, splits can tell you where you're going, what they're trying to do. You got wide splits. What are they trying to do? Trying to run inside on you. They're trying to make a play inside because they're trying to alleviate the traffic. You see a big gap in there, you know something's coming in that A-hole, in that one gap. You're looking down in there. You may even cheat in there. Force that guy to have to make a play on you. It's all technique. That's why when people go, hey, playing right guard and left guard, it's the same. No, it's not. You got different feet, got different hand placement. You got different angles. Flatter. You go flatter when you're on the left guard than you are in the right guard. You can go deeper in your set. All different in how you play the position. Yeah, he runs around blocks too much. But that's because of the doubles. There's got to be more fundamentally sound in there. It's tough. Jordan Davis didn't help him this year a lot. Baldy was a person to predict the Eagles will go 4-0 in the playoffs. Crazy. Baldy's a great analyst, does a great job at that. Okay? He really does. So I'm going to look at the top D linemen and also the top linebackers here in a second here. Baldy hit the shit out of the beginning of the week. Chicago dude named John said Washington's going to the NFC Championship game. Washington had a great year. Washington's going to have an even better year. By the way, here are the teams to keep an eye on for you guys. Here are the teams that I think the Eagles have to be concerned with. Okay. New England, the Raiders, Washington, Chicago, Arizona, the Chargers, Minnesota, the Bengals, Pittsburgh, and Detroit. Why? Those 10 teams could be a nightmare for Philly. Why? Here. Patriots have $130 million under the cap. They can go completely stupid. The Raiders have $97 million under the cap, and they got Tom Brady in the building now. Washington has $82 million in cap space. Chicago has $80 million in cap space. Arizona have $76 million in cap space. It doesn't matter, Forrest, if they have a dream team or not. They're going to spend money. And if you're going to spend money, the surest thing that I could spend money on would be on a world champions roster. I'm not spending money on the Seattle Seahawks roster of players. I'm going to go to the champs who were well coached and performed. By the way, this guy Heath says that New England doesn't. That's not true. Belichick's last season in New England, they spent $300 million in contracts in free agency. Not true. And the only reason that you didn't spend money was during the Brady time. You don't have Tom Brady in New England. You got Drake May. That's a different conversation. Okay? Yeah, you don't spend money in New England when Brady's in the building. When you got Drake May in the building, you spend money. The Chargers are going to look for, here, could the Patriots sign Zack Bon? No. You know who the Patriots are targeting after talking to Alonzo Highsmith, the director of pro personnel? Milton Williams. Patriots want Milton Williams. Las Vegas. They want an edge on the other side of Max Crosby. Josh Sweat. Washington. They want a linebacker. Zack Bon. Dude, do you agree? How many people agree with this? Washington is either going to sign Myles Garrett or Zack Bon or both. How would that defense look in Washington? Hey, James Jones, how would that defense in Washington look if you put Myles Garrett and Zack Bon on it? Here, Seals, what do you say the total amount of our cap space? $82 million. Joey Bosa injured a lot. Okay. By the way, Detroit's got $52 million. They could sign Myles. They got the money. You know why? They hit on all their rookie draft picks. Plus, they need a linebacker. They got that kid Campbell last year from Iowa, the linebacker kid. You put Bon next to Campbell. I don't know. Detroit looks awful good. You get Myles Garrett on the other side of Aiden Hutchinson. Or how about you do this? You sign Bon in Detroit. You give Bon that money and put him next to that first-round pick, Campbell. Then you draft Pierce or Jack Sawyer and you put him on the other side of Aiden Hutchinson, Detroit looks pretty good. Detroit would look awful good. Okay? Dude, that kid, Aiden Hutchinson, man, I'm shocked he's that great. I mean, he is just a really good player. So those are the 10 teams that you got to keep an eyeball out for now. Patriots, Raiders, Washington, the Bears. I think the Bears are going to go O-line. Hey, I'm kind of shocked that Chicago shut down that conversation about Mekhi Becton. They need O-line help if you want to help out your boy there, Caleb Williams. They need to fix that O-line. I don't think their O-line's very good. Or Trey Smith, the kid from Kansas City. Arizona. I think Jonathan Gannon, he's not doing a bad job down there. They need O-line help. Becton would help. I could see Gannon getting a guy like Sweat, who he's worked with. Sweat had his greatest year with Jonathan Gannon. Did he not? Josh Sweat in Arizona? Does that not make sense? He had 11 and a half sacks with Jonathan Gannon calling the defense. He had his best year as a player. I mean, it just makes fundamental sense. The Chargers, you know what they need? They need receivers. I don't believe they're going to go into free agent. Maybe T. Higgins, but they put a franchise. I don't know if they've tagged him yet. Okay? I don't know if they've tagged him. I think they got more time. I know they wanted, but T. Higgins, Chris Godwin, I'm not going in the draft. I'm not going to free agency for them guys. Stephon Diggs, 31 years old. Fuck that. I'm not doing that. I'm going in the draft to get wideouts. And what am I doing on the other side? My defense? My defense was pretty good last year. I need linebacker help. But then again, if I'm Zack Bon, I want those LA, California taxes. Man, don't send me there. Please, God. Plus, you're going to lose Khalil Mack. Could that be a place Sweat lands? Sure. Minnesota. I think Minnesota is going to be the most devastated team in free agency. They got a ton of dudes. What are you doing at quarterback? Sam Darnold's not going back. Why? They drafted J.J. McCarthy. Why would you go back there? To what? Hold the mail until someone screams when you have a horrible game. By the way, those last two games probably cost him $20 million. Why in the world would you go back to Minnesota? They already look at you forever as a backup. Even though you had a great year, those 8 quarters destroyed your entire market. I mean, what are the Giants going to do? Sign Sam Darnold? I'd rather make a run at Matthew Stafford if I'm the Giants. Shit, if I'm Pittsburgh, I'm going after Matthew Stafford. If Pittsburgh's got a ready-made playoff team, they need a quarterback. Go get Stafford. He could be a 2-year gap until you find a guy. Stafford could change a room. Okay? Like you put Matthew Stafford in Miami with those wide receivers, Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. How do you think they'll do with Stafford back there? Dolphins look pretty good. If you put Matthew Stafford in Miami, plus you're playing on grass. I don't know. Cincinnati needs O-linemen. I don't know how Becton's not. Look at your guys here. with these 10 people that have the money in the cap space here, look at this here. Name a guy that you have. New England. My bet is New England signs one of your free agents. I don't know who it is. They need help everywhere. But they could sign 4 free agents and still have $50 million in cap space. The draft is not that good and free agency blows. You know, some would say this. If you're New England, would you rather just spend money on a first-round pick? And if he stinks, you can get off that contract in 3 years and you're not really losing a ton of equity. True. Hey, when you shop at the Eagle store, you're shopping at Neiman Marcus. When you're shopping at Carolina Panthers, you're kind of shopping at the dollar store. There's a difference. Actually, Deshae, the Patriots are $128 million in cap space. So it's almost 130. Raiders could sign any of your free agents. They need everybody too. Washington, they need O-line help. They need linebacker help. They could use another wideout. And they need secondary help. Could you see Slay in Washington? Once he gets cut? Yeah. I could see Slay, a Washington Commander, playing for Dan Quinn. Don't be shocked if that happens. Slay gets cut, and he goes and plays in Washington. The only thing that I would be looking at, if I was one of the 4 teams in the NFC East, I'd be thinking of signing Slay. I would. Knows the Eagles, play him twice. He's been in that division now. How many years? 4? 5? Plus, he's been in the NFC his entire career. Again, and when he gets cut, you're not going to pay him $12 million. You could pay him $6 million and see if he wants to play. See, to me, Slay's going to play again. He's just not going to play for $12 million. And he's going to have his pick of teams. That's the thing with Slay. He's priced himself out of Philly, but nowhere else. Because once he gets cut, you can sign that guy to league minimum. Okay, get this, Forrest. That's not how that works, son. Once he clears waivers, that contract goes away. Team signs him, they don't owe him the money. There's no guaranteed money left to give him. That's not how that works. You get cut, you lose that money. What do you think when you get cut? Another team, and you clear waivers? You think that you're going to sign a guy and give him $12 million? That's not how that works. Look at what the Steelers did. The Steelers signed, do you know that they got Russell Wilson and Justin Fields for a combined $5 million because the Bears and Denver owed both those quarterbacks money. Denver paid $38 million to Russell Wilson last year. You know how much the Steelers paid? $1.5 million. They're not obligated to do anything. So when Slay gets cut, somebody goes, Sills, does Slay have any trade value? No, but when he gets cut, he'll have value to a team. You know why? He's still a good football player, and you don't have to pay him 12. He's just not a good fit in Philly. 34 and too expensive. 34 still good to the Commanders because they're probably going to move off of Marshawn Lattimore because of the money that's owed to him. He's a perfect fit. Now, that's a great thought. If he gets cut, you bring him back. No, you don't have to bring him back at 10 to 12. He makes 12 now. Could the Eagles bring Slay back? I hadn't thought about that. You're right. If you clear waivers, this is how the waiver wire works for a 10-year plus veteran. If you clear the waiver wire, it's actually not a bad thought. He clears the waiver wire. Okay? Clears the waiver wire. That means that $12 million is void. Eagles sign him for 6. That makes sense. That makes sense. No cap hits, nothing. There's no money offered to him. That's right. That's a sneaky, interesting move there. That's how that, hey, Forrest, that's how that deal makes sense now. Cut him. You owe him no money anyway. There's no money against your cap. You cut him. You don't owe him anything. He clears the way. And nobody's going to sign a guy for $12 million at 34. Think about that, Xander. Nobody's going to sign that contract, bring him in. So he's going to clear waivers. Then he gets to pick where he wants to go as a free agent. Actually, Drew Rosenhaus is in a good position because then he can go on the market and have a bidding war. It won't be a high bidding war, but he could pick his team whether or not they're a contender or not. Fuck, he can go to Detroit. They need cornerback help. You can get him back at 6. Half the money he would have made in Philly. Or, if he's so inclined, Eagles offer him $5 million. And they re-sign him. And you give him incentives. It's a really great thought that I hadn't thought of. I would be open to bringing Slay back at that number if he's so inclined to want to come back. The $12 million and the 34, it's not working. Okay? It's just not. Hey, could Slay go to Kansas City? Play on the other side of McDuffie like I see in here? Slay may have a market if he wants to play 1 or 2 more years. Like, Xander and I had a debate. I thought he was too injured last year. Okay, well, that's the sign of a 34-year-old guy. He was still good. He was still good. So he's got some ball in him still. He's not toast. Give me a total on the likes. Thank you guys so much, man. You guys have been absolutely great here. Hey, I want to hit on the top D linemen and the top linebackers. And some of the guys that are being evaluated right now at the combines. So I want to do that. What else? The Slay conversation. I want to get back on that. So much to go with, especially the first day of the combines here. Do me a favor, guys. Please hit the like button here. Hey, my great friends at Morgan & Morgan, we're so proud to have them part of the program here. Again, we love the fact that Morgan & Morgan is here with us. The #1 injury law firm in America is here for you and your family. With over $20 billion recovered for families across the country, this is what the thousands of attorneys at Morgan & Morgan do for you. Ultima Morgan and John Morgan. Over 25 years I've known these folks, and this is what this law firm is all about. I told you about the story in PA with a family being offered $650K. They ended up getting $26 million in recovery because an insurance company didn't want to do the right thing. This is the #1 thing, once again, that Morgan & Morgan does. Like that family in Florida, $350K were offered initially from the insurance company. They went in there, got $12 million for that husband and wife to make sure that they were paid what they were supposed to be paid. If you're ever injured, please do me a favor and check out our friends at Morgan & Morgan, where the fee is free unless they win. For more information, go forthepeople.com/big sales or #529. That's FOR, thepeople.com/big sales or #529. And do me a favor, you tell them Big Sales sent you.
This is Eric. When he got injured in a car accident, he called Morgan & Morgan. He not only gets a lawyer, he gets trial lawyers like Sam and Jessica who are in it to win it. He gets his own investigators with briefcases, leather ones. And if you ever have questions, our customer service folks keep things rolling. Injured? We're your army. Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm.
Ignite your nights with free live entertainment daily, only at Live Casino and Hotel Philadelphia's Center Bar. 7 days a week, enjoy some of the region's top party bands, performers, and DJs as they take the stage in the heart of the casino action. Great cocktails, live music, and lively moments. It's all happening at Center Bar at Live Casino and Hotel Philadelphia. Visit livecasinophilly.com for more details and the complete list of upcoming events. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Your financial future is on the line. Are you ready for what's next? At Leone & Company Wealth Management, we help young professionals, business owners, and pre-retirees navigate the complexities of building and protecting wealth. For young professionals, we'll help you grow your wealth, plan for your future, and make the most of your hard-earned dollars. For business owners, we provide strategies to protect your company, manage risks, and create a lasting legacy for both your business and personal wealth. For pre-retirees, we'll design a plan to secure your retirement, ensuring you can live comfortably and confidently in your next chapter. Whether you're just starting out, managing a thriving business, or preparing for retirement, we're here to help you take control of your financial future. The first consultation is on us. Get the advice you need without the cost. Let's make your financial vision a reality. Take the next step. Scan the QR code to schedule your free consultation today. And of course, go Birds.
In our hometown, we all look out for each other. We step up to keep our communities going strong. And at Independence Blue Cross, we're here to keep you going strong as the #1 health insurer in the region. No IBX is always looking out for you.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Big Show's National Football Show. Do me a favor. Please hit the like button. We're going to go over the D-line and linebackers that are out there. I was really glad to hear that the Glazers are going to make a wrong a right here and that they are going to reinstate John Gruden to the Ring of Honor. I think it's the right call. I think it's just a matter of time before John Gruden's back coaching somewhere. If John Gruden hadn't sent those emails, John Gruden would be making $20 million a year as a head coach in the NFL. He'd still be the Raider coach. Okay? Plus, you get people like Warren Sapp, Eric Allen, Tony Dungy, are all endorsing him and giving him a vote of confidence on who he is as a coach. I don't give a shit about some media guy. And by the way, just for that conversation here, I saw something with a Gallup poll about people's confidence in the media. 1972, that was around Watergate. 70% of Americans believed that what the media was saying was actually factual. You know what it is today? Less than 15%. Fuck the media. They got an agenda. They're race baiters. They sell race. It's important. Cancer culture. Today's political landscape is different. Even for me, I'm getting calls from more people now that I hadn't heard from in a long time. I got a call the other day from a radio company asking if I'd be interested in doing some shows for them. I said, I don't know. Not sure. Would you be interested in doing a show in Miami or Tampa? I don't know. I'm going to do what Zack Bon did. I don't know. Get back to me. Call your bosses first. No, we did. I was like, wow. One of your radio stations in Philadelphia. By the way, you guys ever hear of Scott Masteller? Hey, Scott, how you doing? By the way, he almost hired me for ESPN Radio. It was between me and him and Colin Cowherd. That's true. Scott's a PD over at 97.5. Had some great conversations with Scott. Love Scott. Scott ran ESPN Radio forever. So, I mean, don't believe everything that you hear here. Especially when it comes to, like, you know, people throwing shit out there, you know. I think we're in the land of misinformation here now. So I'm glad to see John Gruden and his name get put back in the Ring of Honor with the Buccaneers. It's a good move here. All right, guys, do me a favor. Please hit that like button. We appreciate you guys. Give me a total where we are in the likes. Top of the hour. Hopefully we're there somewhere around 250 likes. That'd be awesome, man. We appreciate it. So I had a conversation. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Dude, if you ever hear me talking about other things, it's an add-on. Okay? Xander and I know that. It's an add-on. That's not what this is. Dude, you think I broke my back the last 4 years building this fucker up to leave it? That ain't happening. That's not happening. Okay? That's if the Krausses want to throw my ass out. Okay, that would be the only reason. Because at the end of the day here, man, I mean, that would be something to add on. By the way, I got another opportunity from people that Joe Krause does business with. So again, it's all good, dudes. Hit the like button. We appreciate you guys. Again, see if we can get to 250 by the top of the hour here. Today, linebackers and defensive tackles, defensive linemen. I'm going to put edge rushers in this conversation, and I ranked them. And I want to show you why Zack Bon is better than any option. But the money is going to be a question on what teams want to do. Okay? All right. Here are my top D linemen. Remember what I said. I put edge in here. Okay? I do have Abdul Carter, number one, the kid from Penn State. You got to remember something else. I voted on all these kids on first, second, and third team All-American teams. And also awards, the Bednarik, the Butkus. I posted all that stuff for you. Because every time the draft comes around, guys, I've been watching these players all year. My second guy is Jalen Walker, edge rusher, Georgia. My third guy is defensive tackle, Walter Nolan, Ole Miss. My fourth guy is edge, Mike Green, Marshall. Number 5 is Michael Williams, edge, Ohio State. Number 6, this kid I have a problem with a little bit here. He wasn't awfully productive at A&M this year. But at the combines, he's starting to rapidly. And his Senior Bowl in Mobile, He really did a great job. Okay? And that's his kid, Nick Scourton, edge rusher A&M. He had a great Senior Bowl. And Jim Nagy told me the kid was off the charts. Number 7, another guy from A&M, Shamar Stewart, defensive tackle A&M, another guy who had a really good Senior Bowl. Number 8, Derek Harmon, D-tackle, Oregon. These are all first-round guys, too, by the way. It's going to be different when we get to the linebacker position. Number 9, Kenneth Grant, DT, Michigan. Now, help me out here. Michigan doesn't produce defensive tackles. Name me one. Name me one. Aiden Hutchinson's an end. Name me one D tackle that has ever been great out of Michigan, like ever. Name me one. I can't think of one. Okay, I mean, right? I mean, not saying they can't produce one, but Michigan doesn't produce a ton of great D linemen. And I got Jack Sawyer at 10. And Jack Sawyer, in my opinion, for what the Eagles want to do, if you can't get Carter, Real Zeal goes, Lloyd Carr produced some guys. He was a former D-line coach. Name me one. During that Lloyd Carr years, they won a national title. I know he won half of a national title. Name me one that you would consider great. That was a defensive tackle. Now, there's some edge rushers, Graham, Aiden, but interior-wise, they all go to Ohio State, Clemson, Southeastern Conference. If you're a D tackle or an interior tackle, you go to Oregon or the Southeastern Conference. You don't really go, or you go to Ohio State. I mean, where in the world? I mean, Penn State produces great players. They just don't produce great results. Because I think James Franklin's overrated. I think James Franklin's a good recruiter. I think James Franklin is a good coach when it comes to hiring of assistant coaches to teach those kids. But as a game day coach, I think he stinks. He can't win big games. I mean, you know, some coaches have every single, they're good recruiters. Like here's Saban. Xander, I don't know if you agree with this, but here's, you know what my takeaway on Saban is this. Nick is the college version of Belichick. He is a guru for defense. He is a guru. He is a phenomenal talent evaluator. He is also a coach who doesn't give a shit about outside noise when it comes to hiring assistants. Steve Sarkisian had been thrown out of USC because he got drunk at an alumni event. Remember that? Lane Kiffin was thrown out of Southern Cal and other places because of his immaturity. What did Saban do? He was like, fuck that. I'm hiring them. They're good coaches. put him on his staff, rehabilitated him. Lane Kiffin's making $9 million now, and Sarkisian's making 10.5. Shit, the Maryland coach is a former Bama guy. Kirby Smart is the highest paid coach in college football. All these guys were under Saban. This guy not only made millionaire players, he made millionaire assistant coaches who went on to have gigantic jobs. That's his brilliance. Dude, look at the coaches around the NFL and college football. They're all making north of $10 million that coached at that Bama team. Every one of them that leaves and goes on, they all make big money. That was what Saban did. Guy forgave him for what happened at Southern Cal. Sarkisian's now the head coach of the Texas Longhorns. If you told me that after he failed miserably at Southern Cal, that he'd be the head coach of Texas, no way. He didn't get that job because he was the head coach of USC. He got that job because he was the offensive coordinator at Alabama. That's why he got that job. Don't kid yourself. Okay, so they hired the best assistant coaches. Look at Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly's now the offensive coordinator for Pete Carroll with the Raiders, right? He wasn't going to get that job being the offensive coordinator with the Raiders, being the head coach of UCLA. He went to Ohio State and to Columbus for one reason. Why? So he could rehabilitate his reputation. And it did. Chip Kelly's going to get a job somewhere in college pro again as a head guy, whether you like it or not. This guy is the national champion offensive coordinator at Ohio State. He's getting a job. Chip's a good play caller. He's just a shitty person. I mean, and people get enamored with that. All right, linebackers. This is the problem here. And this plays into Zack Bon. Guys, this plays into Zack Bon's market price being higher than you think. The free agent market blows for linebackers outside of Bolton and Bon. The draft is also going to rise his market value. You guys keep saying you're going to there's not a problem re-signing Zach. I think that's tougher than you think. Here's why. The kid Campbell from Bama's the best kid in the draft. You want to hear something after that? There's not one first-graded talent at the linebacker position. Not one. I'm not saying some of these kids can't go on and be a good ball player in the NFL. I'm just telling you right now, as a talent evaluator, there's not a lot of good options at linebacker in the draft. That helps Zach. The kid from UCLA, Scheinweiler. I think he's okay, but he hangs around 50, 55. I'm talking draft pick. I don't know. That's at the high end of the second round. Would I waste a draft pick on a UCLA linebacker? I don't know. I'm not impressed with him. How about the kid Carter from Clemson? He's like down in the 90s. That's third round middle. I don't know. Maybe. I mean, you go from potentially the 15th pick to the middle of the second with the second guy. Help Zach. Every time I mention a name, Zack Bon's value goes up, just so you know. Okay? This kid, Shamik Mandan from Georgia. Dude, he's around 100. Chris Paul, Ole Miss. He's like 115, 120. That's fourth round. And Danny Stutzman, the kid who everybody was enamored with at Oklahoma, I think is so overrated. I think he stinks. I think he's a good college football player, won a lot of awards, They were comparing him with some of the better backers in college. I don't know. Some people have him high valuated. I think he's 130 to 150. He's not very good. Watch him go laterally. Watch him get caught up in traffic. He doesn't drop back very well. And I don't think he's got real good instincts. I don't know. 130, 150? I mean, I wouldn't waste more than a 5th-round pick on him. I think one thing he does do well, he can rush the passer. Could that be something that they hybrid him into and turn him into a situational guy? Could be. But as a linebacker playing on, like, let me put this to you. Is Oren Burks better than Stutzman? Yes. Is Oren Burks? I'll do one better. Is Trotter better than Stutzman? Yes. Is Trotter better than Chris Paul from Ole Miss? Yeah. Is Trotter better than Mondon from Georgia? Yeah. Is Trotter better than Carter from Clemson? About the same. I'd rather just keep Trotter and develop him than waste my time on these guys. I don't need it. And I don't want to spend money in free agent garbage you have out there too. Zack Bon's price just went up. His price just went up. Signing that guy is going to be more difficult than you think if you don't get a deal done before March 12th. You're not re-signing him. I mean, with a team that needs to put a linebacker, like, get this. If you're Washington, what am I doing if I sign Zack Bon away from the Eagles? Is it worth it? Hey, James, think about this. Is it worth it if I'm Adam Peters to do this? You know, if I sign Bon and give him an additional $4 million offer per year to get him away from Philly, it weakens a divisional opponent and strengthens my unit. Is that not worth $4 million a year? Probably. I would overpay to strengthen my team and weaken you in my division. How does that not make sense? You understand what I'm saying? Like Dallas. Dallas has no money, so I wouldn't be concerned with Dallas. New York, the Giants, I'm not concerned. I'm concerned with Washington because they got the money to hurt you. And would they be willing to hurt you? Why not? I've got to get that 55 spot you put on me down. Why not take one of your top 4 players off your team and put them on my team? Or 2. If I put Milton Williams, if I put Zack Bon and Myles Garrett on my team and weaken you and strengthen me twice over, I don't know. I think I narrow the gap. I'm not saying I'm better than you because you have the consistency of being a good football team. They don't. That's the first year they've been good in like 100 years. Okay? This is how these hey, it's worth Washington overpaying Zach to help me get better and weaken you. That's worth $4 million. You could come in and offer Zach 13-5. Again, I showed you guys the problem that you have is the shitty draft and the shitty free agency. And then you're Adam Peters, the general manager of the Commanders, and you're like, I don't want to pay more than 14.5. And Dan Quinn rolls in and goes, how do you think that defense is going to look next year without Zack Bon on it? Completely different. Well, I wouldn't say completely, but different. Because Carter's the difference maker. So it wouldn't look completely different. That would be an overstatement. something to keep an eye on here because it might be worth Washington. I don't think Washington would overpay for anyone else in the market, like T. Higgins or somebody like that. But I think they'd overpay for the Eagle guys because every one of your free agents had an impact on your Super Bowl championship team. The killer bees, Barkley, Bon, and Becton. And 2 of the 3 are free agents. Just saying, you're in that conversation here. All right, guys, don't forget our great friends at BetUS. Absolutely a great betting house. They got great opportunities for you guys to gamble. And they have the YouTube 150. Sign-up bonuses up to $2K. 125 for your second and third with your sign-in bonuses up to $2K. Go to betus.com.pa. That's betus.com.pa. Fastest payouts in the business. 24/7 personalized service. 365 days of the year. Live wagering on all major games. Go to betus.com.pa. That's betus.com.pa. And do me a favor. You tell them Big Sil sent you.
This is Eric. When he got injured in a car accident, he called Morgan & Morgan. He not only gets a lawyer, he gets trial lawyers like Sam and Jessica who are in it to win it. He gets his own investigators with briefcases, leather ones. And if you ever have questions, our customer service folks keep things rolling. Injured? We're your army. Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm.
Ignite your nights with free live entertainment daily, only at Live Casino and Hotel Philadelphia's Center Bar. 7 days a week, enjoy some of the region's top party bands, performers, and DJs as they take the stage in the heart of the casino action. Great cocktails, live music, and lively moments. It's all happening at Center Bar at Live Casino and Hotel Philadelphia. Visit livecasinophilly.com for more details and the complete list of upcoming events. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Your financial future is on the line. Are you ready for what's next? At Leone & Company Wealth Management, we help young professionals, business owners, and pre-retirees navigate the complexities of building and protecting wealth. For young professionals, we'll help you grow your wealth, plan for your future, and make the most of your hard-earned dollars. For business owners, we provide strategies to protect your company, manage risks, and create a lasting legacy for both your business and personal wealth. For pre-retirees, we'll design a plan to secure your retirement, ensuring you can live comfortably and confidently in your next chapter. Whether you're just starting out, managing a thriving business, or preparing for retirement, we're here to help you take control of your financial future. The first consultation is on us. Get the advice you need without the cost. Let's make your financial vision a reality. Take the next step. Scan the QR code to schedule your free consultation today. And of course, go Birds.
In our hometown, we all look out for each other. We step up to keep our communities going strong. And at Independence Blue Cross, we're here to keep you going strong as the #1 health insurer in the region. No IBX is always looking out for you.
EAGLES. Eagles.
Damn, Popeye Doyle's dead? Gene Hackman. Carbon monoxide poisoning, they said, with his wife, his dog, and him. 95 years old. Man, what a great actor. I love that guy. Used to live near Jimmy Johnson, too, down in Isle Morada. I think he moved to New Mexico after Isle Morada. But used to be neighbors with Jimmy. And they used to hang out all the time down there in the Keys. What a great actor there. Hey, by the way, I saw that NFLPA. I was kind of goofing around with Xander here on this. And they said the head coach here of the Eagles here, the players feel the Sirianni's moderately receptive in the locker room. Feedback on teams' needs. They ranked him 18 of 32, and he had an A rating as a coach. These things are the dumbest things on the planet. These NFL Players Association things. I mean, look, and for the record, who had the best grades? Miami and Minnesota? Yeah. What have they done in the last 100 years? Great. You have a great couch, you've got great food, and you got a sorry-ass team. I don't give a shit about any of that other stuff. If I'm winning and I got Super Bowl rings, hey, and by the way, it wouldn't shock me. I told you this, one of the reasons why I think that whole White House thing got switched around from 2017. Jeffrey Lurie is going to want a new facility at NovaCare, or either upgrade it or they're going to move, and they need tax dollars because they want a new facility. I can promise you this, that one of the craziest things I've ever seen, when I left my college and we didn't have the greatest facilities at Miami, the National Football League facilities compared to college facilities are night and day. They're just night and day. I can guarantee you that St. Thomas Aquinas, a high school down in South Florida, where all those pros go and come from, they got better facilities than the Eagles. There is no doubt that they got better facilities. If you've ever been to St. Thomas and you've seen what they have, you would be stunned. All right. Great stuff. We'll take a look at tomorrow's group of people that are going to be working out at the combines as well. It'll be a football Friday as well. Big Joe, Xander, thank you guys so much. Guys, do me a favor, hit that like button. 2 to 6 tomorrow on a football Friday, and we'll see you on the flip side.